So I was looking through my codex, and for whatever reason, all of my units are in French. What's that about?
Sacre bleu.
This doesn't make sense. I mean, every other page of the codex is in English, perfectly readable. But these units over here,
Oh, you like your blood angel. Oh.
I like them
Le
in English.
Marine. What the hell is Le Marine?
Yeah.
When you shared that, Mako, I was beside myself. I couldn't believe it. How does an error of that magnitude just slip through the cracks?
How many memes have I been
Okay.
putting in the chat lately of just stupid things that mean nothing in the real world, but have just happened in this hobby? Like, I feel like it's 3 or 4 things each day.
Yeah, it's a fair few.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah, I feel bad because it's like these aren't real world problems. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, they're asking a lot of money for this stuff, and they just don't care. Like they just don't care. And looking at those profits yesterday was really depressing. Did you guys have that the profits from?
Yeah, that was going to be my my distracting topic
Lay it on me.
today.
Dude,
Well,
I want to go. I'll dive into this, but you go on, Macro. I'll get my page.
it could almost be its own subject, but basically they're up 30%. This is a
Yeah.
company that was just preaching to us how many months ago that they just had to increase the prices because it was just so expensive, the cost of living right now. They just couldn't cope as a company. So they just need to do an itsy bitsy 5% price rise just across the entire board. But somehow that 5% turned into 30% after taxes. It's just fucking weird like that, right?
No, so I'll read it out. So they did a profit before tax. It increased 29.5% to 262.8 million. That's before tax in the UK. They'll get whacked for that, but it's still an amazing amount of
They
money.
will.
Well above previous guidance of 255 million. Not really well above, but okay. Sales grew 17.5% to 617.5 million, or 19.5% in constant currency. So core revenue from the Warhammer hobby, as in models, rose 14.2% as the Warhammer Plus service grew subscriber numbers 32% with continued investment in platform content. Well, okay, whatever. The interesting part, though, disregard all of that. Just disregard it, right? Because licensing revenue grew 69.4%. That is unheard of anywhere. That's a ridiculous jump for a year. Unsustainable and a ridiculous jump to 52.5 million, which of which 81% is from PC and console gaming licenses. So you've got your, that's not factoring in Amazon. That's not really happened yet. So that's just Total War, Space Marine 2, all the other bits and bobs, right?
All right.
Coming in, your Dark Tide, all that. But remember what happened before? Their profit before tax was up around, what was it? What was that? 29.5%.
29.
So call it 30%, right? That 30% is that 52.5 million. Like that's literally it. They are higher revenue this year than last year only because of the licensing. If the licensing has gone or back down to normal numbers, they're now they're not losing money. They're still in the green. But if you're any company, you guys will know this. Any company, and I said this on my video on Thursday, but any company that it makes 150 million one year in profit and then 149 million the next year, you're failing as a company. Your shareholders are leaving. You're failing, right? You're making less money this year than you did last year. You're failing.
Yep.
Without this licensing revenue, Games Workshop are failing. But take away that 52.5 million, and that 29.5% growth goes away, and they're either bang level or below what they did last year.
Anecdotally,
yeah, go on.
Anecdotally, I have heard from friends in some major companies. We're talking big leagues here. The multi-billion-dollar companies, the kind who go around and snaffle up other companies. They were looking at Games Workshop just a couple of years ago and going, we think if we buy them as a company, we could do a lot with it. Okay?
Yeah.
They are at the point, though, this year where they've reevaluated and gone, no, we think they've exploited their customer base too much and they've milked that cow dry. We won't buy them. So that's anecdotal evidence. Like, obviously can't give you any more information than that.
Can I
Choose to
trigger
do with it
Maka?
what you
Oh,
will.
it's very interesting.
I'd like to trigger Maka for a second. I'm going to read you a quote from the CEO, Kevin Roundtree. So straight from the God Emperor himself. Are you ready for this?
My mate Kevin, thank you.
Our mate Kevin, yeah. Good old Kev.
I'm Mr. Circle, he's Mr. Roundtree.
Exactly.
Our names.
And I quote, "After a record year, we remain focused on delivering our operational plans and working tirelessly to overcome any significant obstacles that get in the way. We will continue to give ourselves the freedom to make some mistakes, constantly working on improvements in product quality and manufacturing innovation." Unquote. That was his response to why they're making so much money.
Doesn't sound like a man who's incredibly confident.
I thought the one thing that would
Your
trigger you
take
is
is
the last
right.
bit, the product quality and manufacturing innovation. So yeah, we're market leaders in that. No, you're not.
Well,
Don't lie.
unfortunately, the majority of the audience, no offense to our audience, are idiots. They don't know anything about how these products are manufactured, which is not to insult, but it's just, any topic you've not been exposed to, you're an idiot in, right?
How
I'm
it
an
works.
idiot when it comes to, English Premier League. I know it exists. That's about it, right? Because, it's not a sport for real men. But
I agree. I still enjoy it, but I agree.
yeah, I'm all about rugby. But when it comes to plastic injection molding, people always like to go, "Oh, but you haven't seen their processes." Like, no, but I know how to make dyes. I've made a lot of molds, and I understand the medium really, really well. And so when I pick on their sprues, I'm picking on it from that perspective, as an engineer, not as a hobbyist. As a hobbyist, there are things that perturb me about them, where I go, like, why is this so many bits? You could do this better. As an engineer, I'm like, this is inefficient. Why are you doing it this way? Like, you're making it harder on yourself, damn it. Like multi-core molding, where they could make larger single pieces or more complicated shapes more easily, but be more expensive. But customer satisfaction would be up, or you could make more revenue per sprue. There are ways of doing that. And it just, to me, I just sit there going like, oh no, this is just the wrong approach. They just want to do these simple clamshell molds that realistically are quite simple in their design. Like, you can make them at home almost.
Are you guys
Yeah,
ready
it
for the
hurts
next
me.
little bit that they came up with? I want Kaifer's take on this bit. It's going to be
Sorry, say that again?
so. Are you ready for the next little bit?
Oh, okay,
tidbit
yeah.
that they came up with.
Buckle in, let's go.
Looking forward, one of the main short-term priorities in the licensing business was set to support the work needed to deliver the new media deal with Amazon, which is not signed off yet, and to sign a few significant other licensing deals. As for the core business, this is the important bit, the aim is to open around 35 new stores across North America, continental Europe, and Asia in the forthcoming financial year. Now, you may as well just say worldwide, because, that's what that is. I mean, I know Oceania, whatever, but, like, Asia, it's all there. 35 stores, to me, is a very low number for a business that's growing at this rate. Or growing, quote-unquote, at this rate. Put a 1 in front of that 35, and you've got pretty much a worldwide, we're 20 stores here, 20 stores there, we're opening more stores. If they were committed to the retail side of the business, there'd be a 1 in front of that 35, not 35. 35 is a very small number for a company that's supposedly making, 20% growth in sales every single year. I don't know what you think about that, but...
No, yeah, I think your reasoning is sound. It certainly lines up. And like these...
Go on.
No, these stores are just going... They're going to be... The Warhammer, the modern store, that doesn't have... It's just a retail outlet. It's just for purchasing of product. It's a storehouse, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. People are saying, well, they're opening more stores, so you were wrong about them moving away from the retail side of the business. No, I'm not. This is not going to happen overnight.
Did they list how many they closed in the last year?
Well, this is what I mean. Like this is not going to happen overnight. Like, 35 new stores for a company that's growing in this size is tiny. You may as well close them. Because these stores, they can close these stores overnight. They're paying rent. All they need to do is give a notice on their rent, and they're gone. That's all they need to do. In 6 months, they could close every single Games Workshop store in the world. So opening 35 new stores means nothing. All that it means is that they're expecting from the Amazon TV show and different things like that, a new influx of people coming into the hobby. They're going to milk that, and as soon as that well starts to dry up, those stores will be gone. And I'm willing to bet more stores besides will be gone until we get down to every country has 4 or 5 Warhammer stores that are like the mecca of the hobby where that is, and that's what it's going to be. And it'll be like an Apple store where you go in. It's not really for selling your stuff. It's to onboard you into the hobby more than anything else, right? You go there for a few freebies and to get they give you the good crack before you go on, before they get you addicted to it.
Serious question for you: if they, no, actually, keep talking. I want to find the perfect phrasing. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, that's basically what they're going to do. In the next 10 years, Kaifa, they're going to be. This will not be a retail company anymore. In 10 years' time, I'm willing to bet. I'll bet money. This is a company that manages a license and an IP. That's what they do, and they will license out. They'll still make models, but they'll make it through a third-party company, which is why they don't care about 3D printing and the rise of it and how quickly it's outpacing them. Because most 3D prints now from decent people are better than Games Workshop. I'll put my head on the block and say that, right? And
Okay, I've got it.
Go on.
Talking about that revenue they made and their licensing, if you take Space Marine 2 and the sales in stores that it would have generated out of the equation, what do you think happens to the numbers?
Oh, they go down. I mean, I think still with what we need to remember is legacy costs. So Warhammer 3 will still be making money because of the DLC and people still buying the game. So it will still be making good money for them. I think it's very...
But Space Marine 2 had a lot of tie-in miniatures. Warhammer 3 didn't.
That's true. That's true.
You know,
it does now.
How many people who never played Warhammer went out and bought miniatures because of Space Marine 2?
So what you're doing is you're correlating...
That's my question.
Yeah, so you're more... Instead of looking at it from hey, the games are making money, the video games are making money, you're doing it from what impact did those video games have on models being...
cross-pollination.
Right.
Cross-pollination. Any product that you can buy in multiple mediums, when people have a hype for it, like Helldivers 2, when that first came out, how many people started cosplaying Helldivers? Instant market overnight that didn't exist, right? Funny enough, Space Marine Primaris helmets cosplay company that was manufacturing gets struck down. Now Games Workshop's licensing Primaris helmets, you know.
Oh, dude, it's
not that I want to pick on that too much, but you know, there's definitely flow-on consequences here. If you didn't have Space Marine 2 come out this year, not only would the revenue generated by that game be lower, but the revenue generated in stores would be lower because it's a whole new audience that's been introduced.
Yeah, and I think you are. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd look. You're never going to find a number. It'll always.
Well, there's undoubtedly a correlation. Like
there is a correlation, but I'm unsure of how big it is. I'm not sure how huge that is.
The cost. So if I go on Games Workshop's website, you guys keep talking, but I just want to see like what the cost of
well on the miniatures thing. And one thing that will back up Macca's point actually is it's not just new people buying Space Marines. I know many people who played Space Marine 2 and then started a new Space Marine army. I know people who are like staunch Eldar people who hate Space Marines. They played Space Marine 2 and they got a really small Ultramarines second company or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like 2 or 3 squads just to do because they thought it was cool.
God. If you go on there as seen in Space Marine 2 listing, it's the Warhammer 40k introductory set, the Warhammer 40k starter set, a captain in Phobos armor, a chaplain, an intercessor squad, a heavy intercessor squad, a jump pack intercessor squad, eliminators, a Reaver squad, a Blade Guard veteran squad, a Primaris Redemptor, Manius Calgar, a Repulsor, a 2004 Hive Tyrant, the Hormgaunts, the Termgaunts, the 2004 Carnifex Brood, a Lictor, a Helldrake, a Lord of Change, the Rubric Marines and Exalted Sorcerers from 2015, the 2013 Hellbrute, the Lehman Russ Battle Tank from, 20 years ago. Same with the Chimera, the Canadian Castle, and
it sounds like literally every asset that they could have.
And the Hydra. It's like, here's, half of the Space Marine range technically it was in the game.
Technically. Blink and you miss it. Also,
Yeah.
no, I'm teasing. Yeah, to
But if
different
people bought
degrees.
let's just say one of those. Like, how many copies did the game sell? You know,
I don't have the numbers on hand, but it did well.
sales of Space Marine 2, 7 million copies worldwide. I wonder.
7 million is
2
good, by
million
the way.
players on launch day. 2 million players
good.
on launch day. 4.5 million in the first month. Would it be fair to guess? And this is all it is. Very super reading between the lines guess. So don't shoot me down in the comments too hard. I would say that the significant chunk of players in that first 6.5 million players were the fans, the existing fans of the IP.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, those are your
Right? Buying it
early
within the
adopters.
first month or on launch day. Because it's very unlikely that someone who's never seen it before saw it and said, I'm buying that on launch day. Possible, but unlikely. And I would also say then that the remaining 500,000 sales after that first month would majority be people who heard about it through streamers and hype. But were not big fans of the game. As in Warhammer, they might have had a cursory viewing. If even 10% of those bought in, let's say 50,000 people, just 50,000 people, and they each bought, I don't know, one captain in Phobos armor, you know, it's a pretty cheap model. It's just one Space Marine model, right? So that is $3.5 million in sales in Australian currency. So let's say 2/3, about $2 million American. If just 10% of the audience who was probably not captive 40k players bought just one model.
Yeah, that'll.
Is that
Do
does
as
that sound
described.
too crazy?
Yeah, it sounds.
I reckon
it's
that's
reasonable.
a significant set of sales.
Oh yeah.
What if they went on to buy a Warhammer 40,000 starter set? That's 3 times the price nearly of the Captain Phobos armor. That's 9 million in sales Australian. That's, you know, around 7 million American. If they just bought that Warhammer 40,000 starter set, just the Tyranids versus Ultras, nothing special.
Yeah, because I mean it's
And that's assuming they didn't go on to buy any Blade Guard veterans or Primaris Redempted Dreadnoughts or anything else. Just saying, that's potential there of just.
Oh, it's
That's
great.
a lot.
Hell yeah.
Do you think those numbers are too crazy?
No, I think your estimate's a fair guess.
I think in video game sales, like 7 million sold worldwide is good numbers.
That's big.
Yeah. I mean, look, Veilguard, Dragon Age: The Veilguard sold what, 5 million? So that's huge.
And that's a big known IP.
I mean, yeah, but like Veilguard sold
sorry.
poorly, yeah, because it was shit.
Yeah.
But like, you know, let me just hang on. I'm going to try and find what I said there. Sales numbers. There we go. It sold. Oh my god. All right, so in the first 3 months of its release, Veilguard sold 1.5 million copies. 1.5. Yeah.
That's bad for Dragon
not
Age.
great. That's not great. Oh, by the way, that's 1.5 million players, and it was released on Game Pass. So
Oh yeah. Well.
half that number.
See, when a video game or a franchise dies, I think of the words of the brilliant Admiral Cunningham of the Royal Navy, World War II. One of the finest admirals to ever serve in the Royal Navy. And that should really tell you a lot. But he said, you know, when they were talking about how many losses they were taking around the Mediterranean, especially in the Crete campaign, he said it takes 3 years to build a new ship, but it takes 300 to build a new tradition. And I always think of that when I think of these franchises. Like, when you've got the goodwill, it's kind of easy to maintain that momentum, but the minute you screw it up, all that goodwill you built up over a long period of time, it's very easy to tank it.
Yeah.
Dragon Age? Yeah.
I mean, we're getting off
I
topic.
say no more.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Yeah,
that's
need to
fine.
say it's a massive pile of shit. But like, but what my point is, a huge franchise like that is tanking, and you got Space Marine, which is making, 6 to 7 million sales. This isn't, and it's not on Game Pass. This is just literally just sales. So, you know, I think that shows the power of the IP, and it shows it doubles back into my point before, is that this is going to be an IP management company. If they don't do that, then they want to lose money, because their whole process of making models is ancient and behind the times, and it's costing them a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. No, they're going to lean
and
more
it must
into
do,
this
because
direction.
they keep raising the fucking prices, so it must do. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, like I feel like in one, I don't know if I'm mistaken or not, but I feel as though in one of our earliest Grimdark therapies, we suggested this, that they are going to pivot to a licensing company, because it's hands off, man. You sit back and just be strict with who you give your IP out to, and then look, they do the game designing, and you can sit back, which is ironic because that's what people were looking to do with the 40k on the tabletop, and then they wanted to muddy their hands in it. It's like, no, we must have control.
I remember distinctly saying only a few weeks ago that I think this Amazon deal is still in limbo because they haven't struck while the iron is hot, and they've confirmed it in this fucking financial report. So
true,
once more,
we all have that perception.
Macrodamus, you know, my predictions have come to pass, because as much as people call me salty, I'm a realist.
they did say it's not signed yet.
And I know what these people are like. And
not done.
I said, literally, on Grimdark there, I think it was the episode you're talking about it hitting the mainstream, which I think was on your channel, I'm going to say, North.
Yeah.
And I said in there, I'm like, I don't think they've got this nailed down, and they've dragged it out way too long. I don't think there's a deal. I said that, what, a month ago? More?
Like, well, if they had one, they'd be all over Warhammer community. It would be the biggest thing to hit all the influencers, right? Because, dude, that's just like an easy layup for hype for your IP. And their silence has spoken volumes. I think it's
it just says a lot that, like, they can't nail down what. Like, I get it. The TV and movies industry is not a quick ship to pivot, right? We know that movies can spend a very long time, and TV shows can spend a very long time in pre-production development. Hell, they're not even at pre-production; they're in contracts.
Oh yeah, that's
still
the thing,
being
right?
Out stage. They're in. We have ideas about an idea. We have plans of a plan. Territory, you know, and it's like, no, the time to strike. Like, I would argue that Henry Cavill's fame is diminishing by the day, because he's slowly being more removed as new Superman takes over his role. He's not in the, you know, Mission Impossible franchise is petering out now. He doesn't have a really big IP anymore to his name. Not that I think that detracts from him as an actor or a person, but, you know, he definitely, his high point.
Yeah, his market value, you can describe it as
1 or 2, right?
Yeah, the perception.
His market value had probably peaked, you know, unless he has another big project come along. So that means, you know, the iron was hottest, with him in particular, probably 2 years ago.
Yeah, like when they were announcing all this.
Slowly losing a bit of luster.
Yeah.
So, I know this is detracting from, like, the actual topic of today, but I feel like...
Nah, I think this is par for the course. I like this. This feels organic.
It just feels like they're... You know, they're a company who can't commit to something, and they're probably arguing with Amazon over something really, really pathetic.
I would almost be certain.
Out there.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's who's in the cast or who's in the production team. I don't even think it's like, oh, well, we need female representation. Because Amazon and Games Workshop are probably both like, yeah, let's get some female custodians. They're probably both on board for that shit. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be something like that. It's probably going to be like, who's in the creative team or something.
I've got to be honest, somebody at Amazon must have a real hard-on for 40k, because if any other company screwed them around this much on a fucking licensing deal for a TV show, they'd walk. They'd be like, what? Go away. We're Amazon. We got more money than God. Go fuck yourself. We'll make our own 40k. Who cares?
I don't keep as big of a toe into the production of, like, movies and films as I once did, but honestly, maybe I get the impression Amazon's very desperate for a banger, like a banger IP, a cultural, like, bombshell that just drives their legacy, similar to, like, Game of Thrones, right? I think that's what they wanted. what is it?
They
Lord
stop
of the
taking
Rings,
known.
right?
If they stop Netflixing it and taking known IDs that people like and just changing it for no reason, that would probably go a long way.
Oh yeah,
You know?
oh yeah. Go
Like
figure.
Reacher works really well for them.
Mm-hmm.
The Grand Tour worked really well for them. Clarkson's Farm works really well for them. When they just take a show, and they just let the proper creatives go at it, it's great. It's when they take something and they're like, let's put some social modern day politics and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
It just tanks every time.
Orcs have children.
It's funny how that works. Oh
And
god.
nobody likes it. Nobody likes it. It's like that grudging, like the Homer eating the guy in The Simpsons eating the lemon. He's like trying to smile as his like mouth all like crumples up and cringe as he's eating the lemon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, I love Rings of Power.
Yeah, that's. I don't know. I just get that impression. I think they want some huge, influential IP. I think they want Lord of the Rings to be that, and it clearly is not, and it's failed. And that seems to be in production hell also, I think.
Well, on the last part before we go on to what the actual podcast episode is about. Sorry, folks. Is that I said this on a video that's coming out today when I cover the financial results, and I said if you're one of these people who comes on my channel, and I don't want to speak for the other two lads here on Grimdark Therapies, but I'm going to say this, and you can jump in and stop me if I'm wrong. If you come onto any one of our channels and you complain about Games Workshop, but you're one of the people propping up these numbers by buying overpriced, underdeveloped sculpts from a company that doesn't give a shit about you, you don't get an opinion. Not on my channel, right? You've bought into the problem. You've given them money from hand over fist. I know literal Horus Heresy players who hate 3.0, and they keep moaning to me about it, but they bought Saturnine. And they keep buying stuff directly from Games Workshop or one of their subsidiaries that are out there. And I keep saying to them, mate, I'm not having this conversation with you. You don't get an opinion. In my opinion, you don't get one. Like, you don't get to do that. You don't get to sit in the fire and say, it's really hot in here. Like, I'm sorry, no. That's not how it works. Okay? Get your models from elsewhere. Get them from eBay. Get them from any second-hand market. And if push comes to absolute shove, get them from your local friendly game store, because Games Workshop has already sold them those models at cost, basically. So they're not making a lot of money from it. And by the way, your transaction with that store, the Games Workshop see none of that. That's all going to the store. The store have already paid for the stock to sell them to you. So that, you're not giving Games Workshop any money doing that. Those are the ways you get your models. Do not go to the official store or to a Games Workshop store and buy this stuff at full premium price. You're a fool, and you don't get an opinion. That's just me. I'm not sure how you guys think about that. But looking at these numbers, dude, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy.
What do you attribute that to? Like, I have a similar... I mean, I don't... For the record, I don't disagree. It's like you got to vote with your hobby dollars, for sure. But I have a similar kind of position on just like... So I have more than a few people in my local game store, in my local circuit of people I could play tabletop games with, right? And they are, we all talk about the hobby and the rules and how stupid 10th edition is, that sort of thing. And a lot of them agree with most of the criticisms I bring to the gang, right? It's like, it's stupid, I can't believe they changed this, how they're managing these rules. This faction was good, it's so annoying how they just nerf after buff after nerf. It feels arbitrary almost in some cases. And yet... those same people refuse to not play whatever is coming down to them from the GW Mount Olympus. Like, it is sacrosanct. It's like, no, I can only play what they provide, what they deem as worthwhile of my time. Despite on the regular agreeing with all the problems, right? It's like, no, they can't play one-page rules or change things for homebrew's sake, right? Because, it's our tables we play on, right? Not GW play tables. It's very annoying to me in a similar way where I'm like, dude, what's that about? There's some psychosis. I don't know. I don't know what else to attribute it to.
I hate talking about this because it always comes back to it. But even when you're working in a game store, It was worse in Games Workshop, but like when I was working in a local game store, you'd get these people saying that. But when you're standing in Games Workshop, you're standing there with your fucking red shirt on, or blue shirt, as what I had on, right? So your blue shirt, and you're standing there, and these people will come in and complain, and then they will complain as they're walking to the till with their models. Oh, I'll have these, please. What the fuck's your problem? Like, and you've just spent the last half an hour taking up half an hour of my working day to complain to me about how our Tyranid sculptors shit, and here you are with your Hive Tyrant and a load of Termagants to complete your army. Do something else.
Yeah,
just go away. Like, I'll take your money, but like, what is wrong with you?
I keep referring. I feel like a Stockholm syndrome or something similar, something related to that, some offshoot. I don't know, but there's some weird grip that people have, or some cost fallacy. I don't know. It's a weird thing, man, for sure.
We had a customer called we called him Moni Mohawk. He's a Grey Knight player, and he was just famous because he'd come in and he'd lambast us, and then he'd just clear out our entire stock of Grey Knights.
Weird. What a weirdo. No offense if you're listening.
But that wasn't strange. Like, it would happen all the time. I mean, this hobby, man.
Yeah,
people.
It's
I spoke the other day. I did a video talking about about my favorite, Battle Mace, intellectually distinct company, somewhat similar to Games Workshop. There's some similarities between Battle Mace and Games Workshop, and talking about how when it comes to stock and stock handling, they do things like turn around to the local gaming stores and say, "Hey, we understand you really want this box. Let's say it's Saturn. How about if you want this box, which we think is in huge demand, you also take this box of early 2000s Dryads. Maybe you want some Legions Imperialis, Solar Auxilia. How do you feel about a few kill teams? None of the ones people want. I think you should take these products. And, it'd be awesome if you did. Because if you don't, I don't know that we can guarantee we can get you the stock. Have you heard of this before, guys?
I have heard of this, and it sounds like mob. Yeah, it sounds like mob tactics.
And you see, when you do that, once it leaves your big warehouse and goes to that local gaming store, hey, that's a sale. So all that crappy stock that nobody wants is now offloaded to someone else. And do you guys know any of the numbers or rough quantities of how many Sat9 boxes are piling up on shelves in local gaming stores around the place at the moment?
It's a vast amount, isn't it? Like they were doing like 50% discounts and stuff. Yeah,
that's what I've been hearing.
Yes, there are frequent 30 and 35% discounts offered. Some are just up permanently at this point at 35% off.
By the way,
the most I've heard of is half.
This isn't really something to celebrate, is it? Because these are our local game stores. These are our local game stores that are losing money. Games Workshop have made their ends. Yeah.
I predicted that this edition would have bad sales, and I listed my reasons why. I didn't create a video like that for 2.0. I listed the things that would be wrong with 2.0, but I never said they're going to have issues with sales because they're dividing the community. But I did say that about 3.0, and I've been proven correct.
So is this tracking again, like Dominion?
I can either see the future, but judging from my financials, I can't see the future. I'm just cynical enough, though, to predict bad business decisions.
Oh, your takes are generally on the mark, I think. I've had comments on my channel on the Grimdark Therapy uploads where people are like, sometimes back is a bit much, but he's generally right.
Yeah, I get a lot of that. Like we said when we were on Mordian the other day, I'm Vegemite, Marmite. You either love me or hate me. There's no in between. But yeah, in the video I did on, let me look here.
It makes me wonder if this is going to trend into like a Dominion box set, because is that the last box set or launch box that did poorly, where it was struggling to move off the shelf?
2 months ago, New Heresy Community Divided, I called the video, and I listed out all these problems long before they occurred. And we're in the damage control phase, because remember how they listed out that they were going to do, oh, we've got a PDF coming, guys, and it brings back all your war gear and units. Then you notice that a bunch of the stuff in that PDF that, you know, was updating in real time, like every few hours you go back and they'd added more units. Some of those they put into the FAQ they dropped, the day 0 FAQ. You go, so hang on a minute, it's not even launch day yet. People haven't even got the boxes in their hand, or a few people had, but majority of people didn't have their boxes yet. And you've already changed the war gear on a few units, superseded, like, you know, 7 pages worth of rules. That box hasn't even come out yet.
Yeah.
And it had, like, frequently asked questions in there. I'm like, how can you have frequently asked questions for a game that hasn't launched yet?
Well, because they planned it all along, you see.
Because they knew that there were issues, but they went ahead anyway with the product.
Mm-hmm. They thought they could get away with it. I'm convinced.
How can you have frequently asked questions for something that hasn't hit the hands of the customer?
I don't think it's even that, Kaifer. I don't think that they put any thought into, are we getting away with it? I don't think it's that. They just don't care. They just don't care. Like they don't see it as an issue.
Well, they don't see it as an issue, but the heresy community, and I mentioned this in one of our group, in our server chat here, I get the impression, like, they didn't expect the negative feedback from the heresy community, like how it was so divided, right? I think they were expecting...
That's crazy.
Well, I would say so. I think all of us would say that's a crazy perception to have. They're just so out of touch. I have the impression that they thought they could get away with it the way they do for 40k. Slowly strip war gear away off units, send units to legends like it's not a big deal. And I think they got accustomed to how 40k players roll over because so many of them are tournament invested. I was going to say something ruder. And because of that, they don't want to fuss because it's like... the kind of people I was referencing earlier in my local play group. It's like, oh, well, if it's official, that means what I'm doing is more worthwhile, and I play tournaments, and tournaments are a big deal. There's world champions and all this kind of stuff, all this emotional baggage that gets tied into your hobby because of this perception. And I think that's the contributing factor to why in 40k people are so much easier to roll over, but Horus Heresy seems to have more of that narrative core still in there from the old... classic Warhammer, right? Third, seventh.
Well, Horus Heresy's got the old guard, isn't it? It's got people who, you know,
who care about the hobby more so. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So there's a very good reason why, you know, Horus Heresy had a rep back in the day of like turn up with a painted army that's lore friendly, or just don't play because they won't play you. And it's true. Like, you've got to gatekeep. If that's what's important to you about your hobby, then gatekeep that. Say no, this is the standard. Sorry. I'll help you reach the standard, no problem. Like and that was the thing. You would get 40k fucking casuals all the time accusing heresy players of being this way, but then actual good heresy players will say, yeah, I'm not going to play you right now, but here's what you can do to get your army up to speed, and I'll help you. I'll show you painting techniques. I'll show you how to convert certain things. I'll show you where to get your models from that are cheaper. Maybe even some proxies if it's that kind of a heresy group where you get good proxies from somebody's 3D printer. Here we go, right? And they were very welcoming like that, at least to me. And in my area, we've got like quite a blood and guts Horus Heresy community. They are very, very particular and ruthless, and they were really nice with me. They were just like, yeah, we will help you. No problem. They love 40k converts. They love it. But if you come in there with a 40k attitude of, well, why can't I have my Primaris Space Marines? Or why can't I do this? And why do I need a painted army? Why do my models need fucking arms?
Ugh.
Right? No, I've come across it. Right?
What are we even doing? Right? What? I throw my hands up. What are we even doing at this point?
I got my army from eBay, and it has no arms, right? Because I don't know whether it'll be meta or not. So you know, that's where I got it from. And they expect to go into Horus Heresy groups and get games. So these are the two juxtaposing sides of the hobby. And Games Workshop, as you just said, Kaifer, obviously thought that they were dealing with the former when they're actually dealing with the latter in Horus Heresy. Right?
That's my perception
of it. They're not going to stand for that shit. Yeah. And by the way, congratulations to Horus Heresy players for actually having a fucking backbone and not buying this shit. Maybe not some of the ones I know, because they've let me down quite a lot with some of the tat that they've bought over the recent years, despite complaining about them. But for the vast majority, you can see it in the sales figures. People are panicking. Games Workshop aren't panicking because they sold their stock. But I know a lot of local game stores, even around me, who are rethinking their relationships with Games Workshop because of how they've handled this. because they sold them down the river with this fucking Saturnine box set saying it was going to be this great thing. It's going to fly off the shelves, and now they're stuck with useless stock that they can't shift, that they're making a loss on.
Yeah,
They're taking a massive haircut on.
Local stores.
These are small businesses.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a fucking scam. I'll go further. It's a scam. Because Games Workshop had to know, on some level, who they're dealing with in the Horus Heresy community. On some nobody's this stupid. They must have known.
Don't say things you can't take back. No.
Well, yeah, I'm serious. Like, I can't.
When you no, it's not stupidity in this instance. I think it is just misunderstanding the community so much that you think that they'll accept it.
I think that's stupid. I think that's a good idea.
It's not stupid. It looks stupid from the outside, but it's actually just more a symptom of maybe complacency,
ignorance,
or arrogance. Definitely ignorance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But like what leads to the ignorance is just we know better what the customer wants mentality. And they've had that for a long time about a lot of products. And in general, as we've said in many episodes, they're a company that has failed upwards.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, like they just continue to make profits year on year on year, despite making a lot of really suspect choices. And it was just assumed that the money train would never end. And I have so many people who say, oh, but the share prices. I don't give a shit about share prices. It's market perception. It's all share prices are.
Yeah.
As long as you keep fluffing yourself to the market and you've got something to back it up, they'll lap it up. The problem is these businesses, when they tend to fold, it's not a slow process drawn out over decades. It tends to happen rather quickly without major course correction. And if every shareholder could see the fall coming, no one would ever lose money in shares. You just go, oh yeah, that company's going to tank. I'll pull my shares now and I'll move elsewhere. That's not how it works. A lot of the time, the rug gets pulled because the shareholders are told the company's doing really, really well, and then all of a sudden one month it's here. By the way, sorry, we kind of fucked this one up.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this release in particular is it hit them hard. The Horus Heresy release hit them hard in the wallet, because if it didn't, they wouldn't have been rushing out to put out these FAQs and articles, because that's not like them.
It screams of damage control, right?
I do think maybe it's them trying to salvage. I don't think so. And Mako, you'll know this. But when Games Workshop sell Saturn 9, they're not really, if they're selling it to third-party retailers, they're not selling it to us. They don't see a cut of that money. So the store will buy their stock from Games Workshop at cost, essentially, and then they will sell that on to the customer at something like a 15 to 20% discount, or a lot less now because of Games Workshop changes to how much they're charging stores. But the stores will generally buy a load of stock cheaper than what normal people will buy it because they're buying it in bulk, and then they'll sell it on to us and they'll pass on that discount, right? So Games Workshop have made their money, right? They've sold their Saturn 9 box sets to these third-party retailers. But now the third-party retailers aren't selling them. So the only thing these FAQs means to me is that Games Workshop don't want to lose these relationships with third-party retailers, right? Because the ones I know around me are mostly, not all, but mostly, or most of them are rethinking their relationships with Games Workshop. I know 4 local store owners in the local area because they're all on my Discord, and they're all saying the same thing. It's like, I need to be very careful about what I order from Games Workshop in the future, if I do at all, because this is not the first release where we've been stung like this by their ridiculous quality control. But that
remember what I was saying before about being stuck with all those kits that just match nothing? Like, does anyone ever wonder that when you walk into a third-party retailer, into your local gaming store, you're just like, what a random assortment of shit on the shelves here. That's, you know, it's imposed upon them. If you want to get the honey, you know, if you want to get the carrot, you know, you've got to take a bit of the stick. It's the way that they treat their independent retailers. And if you ask a lot of them, they'll be frank with you about it. They've really been screwed over where they'll say to them, like, you're not getting your copy of Indomitus, you know, unless you do this. And they go out and they have to often put out posts that says, sorry, like we can't meet the pre-order obligations. Games Workshop hasn't said enough.
Well,
That's very common.
Maka, I have never spoken, and I've spoken to many independent store owners and managers. I've never heard a decent thing about Games Workshop and how they treat these people. And I'm serious. I literally, if I can remember hearing one positive thing, I can't. It's always been, we ordered this stuff for the shelves and it's not here. Or they told us we had to sell all this stuff before we could sell the stuff we actually want to sell. You know, or they've not given us enough, or the ones they've given us are defective, or it's always, or the product that they've released, as in, I know one local store that cut ties with Games Workshop entirely when the Leagues of Atan thing happened. Because he was, I've had so many of these returned to me. You guys can fuck off. I'm done. Like, I'm done. I'm now losing money out of my till because of your guys' fuck up, because this was a broken thing on release, right? So we got so many of them. So many, they sold so many copies, and then they nerfed them straight away, and then most of those copies got returned. Like, literally, most of them, like, they all came back. Like, yeah, this is now it's just a normal.
Yeah, it sucks for the implication for the local stores is terrible.
Especially if the local store has to wear like the aggression of the community.
Yes,
like, there's
exactly.
one thing I'm big on when I record my videos, and that is I always treat all stores I go into with respect. Because the people in the stores are not responsible for the decisions of the company, whether it's the direct stores of Games Workshop or it's the retailers that sell after the fact. Always treat them with respect, because they're just people trying to do a job. But the company gets all of my ire, because the decisions they make are just done from such a, fuck them, the customer will eat it up. Enjoy your slot, pigs, my pay pigs mentality. At least like, it may not be that way, but the language they choose to use in their reports, you know, they love using that word exploit. Yeah, it's a business term to say exploiting something, but it's not a great business expression to say we're exploiting our IP when you could use other, you know, words like other homonyms that would work better in that place.
They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
They're saying it directly to their shareholders in, hey, we're going to milk this fucking cow. But now we're at the point where the cow is getting pretty dry. And the heresy community in particular is, I mean, they're pretty vocal.
Yep.
I think we can see from those financial results they're not going anywhere. And people have said this in my comment section, saying, "Oh, they'll go out of business." No, they won't. Games Workshop will never go out of business. It's not happening. Right? There is such a thing as being too big to fail. Now, unless they do something really ridiculous, like saying, "We're going to do My Little Pony and scrap Warhammer 40k," right? If they do that, then fine, they can fail. But like, if they keep hitting a 3 out of 10 on all their releases, they won't fail, right? They're at terminal velocity now. They're in the zeitgeist. They're approaching the mainstream. You know, over the event horizon. They're not going to fail. They're too big to go down. Same as EA, people like that, right? Too big to go down. They can weather these storms. The problem is that I don't think not failing is good enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think just doing okay is good enough. I don't think treading water and just not, because right now they look like they're really successful, but it's reading between those lines where you can see that this most of their income now is being offset by their IP. They're selling their IP. It's not the models. You know, in the modern context, if we take away all of their licensing, take all that away, right? And by the way, they still have to pay the Tolkien estate. They still have to pay these other people to license their stuff to make their games. So they'd probably be making a loss in licensing if you took all that stuff away, right? They're no longer making the same amount of money than they were last year. They're down, 10, 15 million pounds? Doesn't sound like a lot of money in the big scheme of things. But any shareholder, Maka will tell you, Kaifa will tell you, any shareholder in a company that is making 10 million pounds less this year than it did last year is failing. That's panic stations.
Yeah,
you're looking at your stocks going, you know.
The fiduciary responsibility, right, that comes from being a public company. And you know what? Exactly what you're saying speaks to Roundtree's statement, despite the perception of the increase, right?
Yeah.
It lines up.
Well, he was talking about obstacles, and you know what they are: rising costs of doing business. So they're going to pass some, and what he means by get around the obstacles, he means price increases, of course, because that's what they always do. But
well, they're struggling, North. They have to.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is that having to rely on your licensing to give you this kind of profit isn't good enough to me. Like, with the power of the 40k IP, Maka brought it up before, it's a wonderful point to come back on, right? You look at the power of the IP, 7 million copies sold of that video game, right? So if you have an IP with that kind of power behind it, and you're still relying on your fucking licensing to give you record profits, quote unquote, and without that, you don't make you are not making record profits anymore. In fact, you're making less money this year than you did last year. That's not a good business, and nobody can convince me otherwise. I've got no problem in sitting here saying Games Workshop are doing very well financially. Yes, they are, because there's enough pay pigs out there giving them money, and they're making a lot of money on licensing. But without that licensing money, they're not. Yeah, that's the point.
No, that's a critical point, actually.
Right?
And it speaks to...
And that's not good enough.
Oh, no, it's certainly not. But I can't help but think of an old video of Macca's, and you probably made the point across many videos, Macca, but you were just explaining, like, the or maybe it was North, the leaky bucket, right? The leaky bucket of Games Workshop's hobby market, essentially, right? People keep leaving, and that whole, there's leaking water from their bucket, and they got to increase the prices, so they got to shore up the profits by making everything cost more because they have fewer and fewer people. It doesn't feel that way, though, at the same time. It feels like maybe more people are coming in relative than what's leaving. I don't know.
But for every one, like, veteran, and people, they misunderstand, like, what a veteran actually is. That come in there, they think of it as, you've bought your share, you won't buy any more. It's like, but I bought a lot every year for decades. I bought all the Primaris, bought all the Black Books. I remember spending 1 year about probably $12,000 on Warhammer. Yeah, I got a massive payout for all this annual leave. I got paid out when you leave a job. I don't know if that's a thing in other countries, but whatever leave you've got saved up in annual leave, so not your sick leave or anything, gets paid out to you, because that's hours you could have just taken off from work, so they pay you for it here in Australia. And I had a lot of that, so I got like $8,000 or something of that just to spend on Warhammer after paying bills. Like, it was great. And it's like, so how many new players need to come in now just to cover for my ass leaving? And I was a repeat customer, spending thousands every year, 1 year in particular, obviously a lot of money. And it's like, yeah, you can say I'm one drop leaving the bucket, but what I represent when that droplet leaves the bucket is very different to that other person coming in. And especially for those of us, like all three of us, with a YouTube presence, whether or not we like it, we are influencers and we have some impact or some effect on the community. Either promoting sales or potentially driving down sales, depending on the content we put out. And that has an impact on that bucket. And I don't think the drops that are filling that bucket back up are buying enough as fast as the people who are the pay pigs are going, no, all the future sales you would have got from me if you did a good job are going. That potential future revenue is, they lose sight of it for the instant gratification of new thing to new player.
Yeah, I agree. I think
they're at that point though where like they're now, the overlap is starting to occur where it's like, oh, we can't raise prices faster than they're hemorrhaging.
Well, this is the thing. Exactly what I was going to say, right? So this I would love to see their numbers of how many units they're shifting rather than how much money they're making, because I'm willing to bet that the amount of units they're shifting is either at the same amount as last year or below, but the prices have gone up. That's why you're seeing a 17% increase.
Well, that lines up with the increase. Actually, I think that's a logical assumption.
Do you know what I mean? Like, the growth of the hobby isn't how much money Games Workshop are fucking making. It's literally, the growth of the hobby is how many units are being shifted. Not just any units. How many starter box sets are being shifted? How many? And I don't mean starter box sets as in Dark Imperium or the equivalent from back in the day. I mean, your your combat patrols, paint sets, things like that. How many of those are going out the door? That's what I want to know. I'm not interested. When I was there, they weren't really interested in money. They were if they didn't like you. Now, if they didn't like you, then it was all of a sudden it was a problem. But if they liked you, which they did with me at the start, they said to me, money is not an issue. All we care about is KPIs. How many of these starters... You can make like £500 a week in your store. But as long as that £500 is all Dark Imperium and starter box sets, we don't care. We don't care. Right. £500 is pretty low. Call it a grand a week, which is very low for a retail store. As long as you make that, and it's all KPIs, we don't care. Whatever. Until they don't like you, then it's like, you're only making £1,000, you know, that kind of... But, like, this is what I mean. Like, the amount of money they're making doesn't matter. It's the amount of models that are leaving store shelves, and I'm willing to bet that's either around about the same level or below as last year. A lot of these will be hidden underneath corporate speak to basically bemuse their own shareholders. Like to pull the wool over the eyes of their own shareholders to not leave.
Yeah, you can't lie directly, but you can obfuscate through
you
creative...
can omit and obfuscate, yes.
A fantastic example of that is Age of Sigmar. When Age of Sigmar first launched, dumpster fire. Because you lost majority of the Warhammer Fantasy community, but you gained a few people who liked the Golden Boys. But any sale that could ambiguously be termed as an Age of Sigmar sale, they just move it across a column on the spreadsheet. And lo and behold... Tell me if you remember, what was one of the most popular armies in 40k when Age of Sigmar First Edition was out? Any guesses?
Say that again, sorry, you broke up on my end, the last bit there.
That's right. Any guesses what one of the most popular 40k armies was when Age of Sigmar was in the doldrums?
I'm going to take a guess and say Space Marines. Is that what you're fishing for?
Nah.
I'm going to say Chaos, Space Marines.
Closer.
Demons?
No.
Do you remember Screamer Star?
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Demons, especially Zinch demons, were king of fuck mountain for a period in 6th, 7th edition 40k because they were able to have a 2+ rerollable invulnerable save
like a brilliant
a unit in their army because of Games Workshop's aforementioned brilliant writing until the next thing came along and that got nerfed and blah, blah, blah. That's the formula. So a lot of people were going out, like LVO was won by a Screamer Star army. A lot of people were going out and buying Demons armies. Demons armies can also be used in what game system?
Age of Sigmar.
So if your system is tanking and you don't want to look like you've absolutely fucked up to your shareholders, why don't you just shift a few sales? And you made a lot of sales in models that directly can be used in the other game system that year. I'm not saying they did this. Can't prove it. Nothing libelous being said. Not that you can get sued for libel in Australia if the company has more than 5 staff. You just move those models from one column on the spreadsheet to the other, because they are Age of Sigmar models. How do you know they didn't buy that Zinch Demons army for Age of Sigmar?
It's very interesting.
And
I mean, it makes
that
sense.
goes for many different things. It's not just those.
No, it's an excellent example.
Yep.
But it's just the timings sync up perfectly because, like, those financial reports, you go back then, Age of Sigmar was not doing very well. So you know that whatever thing they could have done to recoup that, because when you go into the shop and you buy them, what shelf are the demons on? It's not the 40k shelves. They've not been on the 40k shelves for over 10 years.
Valid. Yep.
So those are fantasy sales when you sell demons. They're not 40k sales. So yeah, call that my conspiracy theory. That's my tinfoil hat for the moment for the night. There may be more.
Yeah,
But
sorry
yeah,
for derailing the original topic, but
there's something
at the
to
same
it.
time, like, this is big news. I mean, we couldn't really let a podcast go without talking about it. People would be like, why are you talking about the actual thing?
I'm not opposed to these kind of diversions at all. We can always come back to more evergreen topics whenever. Yeah, this is
So
very interesting.
it's just one of those things, right? Because now you go, well, hang on a minute. If they were saying that their profits were so healthy and they're up 30%, then would they need to raise prices again this year? No, they wouldn't have to. They could have a bit of a gesture of goodwill towards the community. It would also be very interesting to see what they give as their bonus to their staff this year. But I wouldn't hold my breath on them holding prices. I think you're going to see the prices rise just as much next year as they did this year. If they don't, I'll be pleasantly surprised. But since I'm not buying anything anymore from them, it's neither here nor there. They can coax me back, don't get me wrong. I think we've spoken about this before. There are things they can do to coax me back, and my next major video topic for my channel is going to be like how they could fix the Heresy 3 mess. But oh boy, is it going to actually take some work. Like, you can't just paper this one over.
I'm with you.
Yep. No, it's
like they actually
fair.
need to admit fault. It needs to be like, you know, the closest they came to admitting fault that I can think of is Votan. And even then, it was said ass about backwards, like, we're sorry that you were upset.
That's always the case. Even in facts and
You know?
erratas, you can find that kind of language, and I read it.
Maybe that's just me.
No. That's fuck, you're bang on, dude. I see, because I don't have any reference like at hand, but I've definitely seen designers' notes and facts and erratas of people pointing out things that don't make sense, and it just, you can feel like the language feels smugly scathing almost, where it's like they're annoyed that they fucked up, and they're annoyed that they've been called out on an error. It's like a non-apology.
They don't like it, do they? Like, they really don't like it. It's like, all we want you to do is say, you know what, this edition's not great. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn around and we're going to do a free PDF, but we're going to like do the artwork and everything at work. We're going to make a nice job of this PDF. It is going to supersede your books, but we're going to make it free to you, right? We won't keep the books and all that. Like, thank you for buying the Heresy 3.0, but we're going to do X, Y, and Z and make things better. It would create so much goodwill, and it would cost them a few hours of writing PDFs, you know?
Here's the thing as well, is that we're not just saying this in terms of the attitude of the writers and, you know, we're sorry you're upset, you know, or we're sorry you didn't like this. Maka is writing an edition of Horus Heresy, and I'm putting pen to paper on something to do with 40k, and Kaifa's helping me with that. And we will get people coming in and saying, this is wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. And you've got to take your medicine. You've got to say, okay, that wasn't right, let's rework that and figure it out, and then just do it again. And by the way, we're doing it for free, and you'll get a different response and attitude from us than you will do from Games Workshop. Do you know what I mean?
You know what's funny?
I don't get it. They're paid to do this. You should love sitting there going, listen, guys, I hear you. And by the way, you coming back to me with feedback means I get more work. It's great.
Is there a perceived loss on their end for admitting fault that we're not considering? Is there like some element or factor?
No, most companies are willing to accept when they screw up and do campaigns and say, look, yeah, we think we screwed up, you know.
Yeah, I feel like you get so much goodwill.
Even like Bud Light tried to go on a salvage campaign.
Perfect example, actually.
You know? It's funny because I had a comment on... I put out a poll yesterday. I said, look, here's what I'm thinking of modifying the 1.0 Tank Squadron rules to. This might be the direction we head. What do you think? And I gave him like 4 options, like keep it the same, do something radically different, try this new thing, just to see where the wind was blowing, right? Because to me, it's
what a novel approach, right?
Let's see what the majority of people may want.
What a crazy idea!
I'm going to take a crack at it. Yeah, it doesn't mean that it's what I'm going to go with, but it's like if that's what people want to try,
Can't do that. You're crazy. Costs us way too much money.
I literally had a person go, "You're just being lazy like them now. Playtest it." No, like, why don't you, instead of just wasting my time jumping straight to a playtest with an inferior set of rules people might not be interested in, how about I ask the community what they would be interested in, go with the majority option, see how they take it, and then if they don't like it, then I can explore alternatives.
That comment is crazy.
of people coming on your YouTube channel and saying, why are there 3 ads in this YouTube video that's an hour long? It's free! Shut up!
I don't put them on.
Like, I don't have a choice. I just put ads on, I take off the most egregious ones, and then they're there. Shut your face, bloody... The entitlement, man. It's like, you're using up your own time. I know you're a busy guy. This is, Mac, I know you're a busy guy, right? We're all busy. But we're taking time out of our days to write this stuff for you. And we're not getting paid. It's not going to go behind a paywall. We're not going to get any Patreon money from it. It's from us to you as a love letter saying, listen, we know you're not having a good time. We know the rules across the board, not just Horus Heresy, across the board suck ass, right? So we're doing something nice for you. And it's like, thank you for this pot of gold. It's really heavy. Go fuck yourself. And so I will say this. If you approach me with that attitude, you will be getting told off. If you approach me with this isn't quite working, mate, thank you very much for saying that to me. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'll work on that. But if it's, you're just like Games Workshop releasing broken stuff, go suck my balls. I'm going to tank your faction. I'm going to release a really shitty codex just for you.
No, don't do it. Like, it's crazy. That comment is crazy because it's complete tone deaf of the circumstance they found themselves in with how GW manages rules, right? Because the amount of pitfalls GW would have avoided by putting out a poll in so many cases is uncountable, dude. Just to get a sense of, is this idea good, or are we smelling our own farts here? Are we out of touch? They'd avoid all of those bad outcomes if they had any sort of public outreach, right? Because look, this playtesting that they've been doing to influencers, their closed private stuff that always gets leaked, A, they don't seem to be listening to the people who want to tell them otherwise, and B, I feel like it is obviously poorly inadequate because look at the outcome they've been having with it. Like, consistently, it's just been rules problems, right? And they've been doing it this way for the last 3 editions and 40k, last several years. It's crazy. That comment's insane.
It's just, yeah. Go on, Marcus, sorry.
To another funny point. Again, I was looking at some of those comments on Mortians, and there was one in there. It was talking about us, in particular, Mortian, yourself, North, and myself. Kaifa, you got off on this one.
Yeah, I'm a nice guy, typically.
And they said, it's just moaning because they're monetizing on the hatred of 3.0. And for a start, North, you've hardly done any content on 3.0.
Mm-hmm.
I've done about 5 videos now, specifically on the current 3.0 situation. And I'm like, you know what? I'm wiping my hands of it. I'm not doing any, I could be putting content out talking about the Loy sales.
Oh, you could be shilling the crap out of them right now.
I'm talking about the sprues. That's where my interest is. Again, I'm looking at it from the engineering side of things. And yet, there are people there going like, oh, these guys are just trying to make money off rage clicks. Like, I've shown my financials on stream before, straight off YouTube. Like, this is what I actually make off YouTube. It's not a lot each month, and I don't go, I never sit there on my videos going like, subscribe, go on Patreon. I never do any of that, right? I work a normal job. This is just a hobby for me, a hobby within the hobby. And at no point does it occur to these people that maybe we just say these things because we actually think them.
Yeah.
It's their cope. Yeah. That's how they defend against it. Like, they don't want to... They want to do the ostrich thing. Is it ostriches? They don't want to look at... They want to bury their head in the sand, is what I'm trying to say.
I say every time, Kaifa, every time, I want to say positive things. Do you know what I mean?
I think we all do.
Nobody... Thank you, darling. Nobody, sits here, thank you very much, and says, I can't wait to have a go at them for this. It's going to be awesome. Every time... I was sitting downstairs yesterday with the missus, and I got a thing on my phone about the profits and things like that, and also the Drago and stuff, and the Terminus Decree, and I sighed, and I was like,
despair.
Oh, for fuck's sake, here we go. Right, okay, let me go write a script, and I didn't even write it. In the end, I just went ham, because I was like, you know, I'm not devoting any more time to this. No one likes negativity, you know. Don't get me wrong, there are certain people, hello Discourse Miniatures, who do seem to like, you know, negativity and revel in it quite a bit, and every single video is bad. But, if they do something great... I've done these videos in the past where I've gone, Games Workshop got this right, look at this. Right? this is awesome. I really like this. You know, but they just don't. They just don't. And the news that comes out of them is never good. It's never just like, oh, they killed the release of 10th edition, didn't they? Oh, awesome. Hey, you know what? These the prices on these new Terminator sculpts are really cheap. They're really good. They're really good value. Tell you what. Oh, isn't it awesome that they released a new Dread Knight? I know they didn't release the skirt for it, but apart from that, doesn't the skirt look nice? It's like, no, dude, come on. What do you want me to do? You either want no content. Well, maybe that's what they want. I don't know, but you either want no content.
I think they want affirmations, dude. That's what I think. Those.
Eyes remorse, yeah.
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 There's definitely that whole oh no, you guys. I tell you this, right? I created a rant video one evening. I was just pissed reading through the comments, just angry and upset because there was just so many of those comments on my videos around, not even 3.0, just in general, around just negative, you're negative, you're negative, you're negative. And I just got on and I just pulled up Microsoft Paint, and I said, let's write down all the good things that they've done. And it was like half a dozen things. I said, let's write down all of their fuck-ups. And it was just fucking screen full of red text of just things that they had majorly messed up on. And I never released the video, it was just me ranting to myself as catharsis. And it's like, why are you giving me such a hard time? Because I'm pointing out the red things. You only want me to point out the green things, the what they've done well. It's like, what have they done well? What are they doing well? I guess they're the entry point into tabletop hobby for many people. That's a positive. They make pretty nice models. Not the best, but maybe it could be argued the best in plastic for tabletop miniatures. But definitely not the best. There's some absolutely brilliant tabletop miniatures you can buy out there. But they're mostly in, resins or white metals. Much more niche. Better sculpts, but, more niche. So that's two good things. I guess they do some in-store, like showing you how to build your stuff and painting it in tutorials. So 3, that's an interesting thing. And they obviously have their Warhammer painters online, doing the how to paint tutorials. That's 4 good things. Can I think of more than 4 bad things, though?
Impossible.
Fucking A. Fucking A. I can give you like 2 dozen if you wake me from a drunken stupor. And that's the problem. It shouldn't be. You can't mitigate all of the bad by just saying, oh, they run some tutorials in their stores, or oh, they do some painting tutorials on YouTube, or oh, they produce some of the better 3D plastics in the market. Like, cool. How many times though can you just fall back on they make nice models as the counter argument to the prices going up twice as quickly as inflation is? As, hey, they're moving all the stores to really unapproachable areas, to, hey, they don't play campaigns in their stores, to, they actively discourage veteran players to come into their stores, to, they supersede all of your books within 3 years, to, hey, your book might only be 6 months old and it's superseded, to, hey, we're re-releasing this faction that you know and love and we've just gutted it, to, we will just kill a game system at the drop of a hat if we think there's more money to be made by doing so, to, like, the list goes on. And I think these are all very fair arguments that can be made about the way they handle their product. Like, if you tried to buy a limited edition anything off them, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck, And just the litany of this, I'm like, I don't want to be an asshole just sitting here because I enjoy this hobby. I come to do this for fun. But I feel like, and the whole reason I complain is because they are slowly trying to take the fun that I paid for away from me.
Yes.
And you can argue
100%.
that, yes, I can go back and play previous editions, I can go back and play 3rd edition 40k or Rogue Trader to my heart's content. I've got the books. Yes, but who am I playing with? Yeah. Who in the current meta am I playing with? Sure, I might play the same few friends in my local group. And for Circle Edition Heresy, I will. But if I want to play people outside of that group, if I want to go off and just go, you know what, I've got a weekend to myself, I might just go and play like at a random event with just people I've never even met before in another town. And maybe I'll just make some new friends or just have a bit of a blast, and that'll be it. That ain't happening, except for like really niche groups you might be in. Are you going to find like Rogue Trader event this weekend? Like, you got to look for those things actively. They don't just fall into your lap. But if I was looking for a game of 10th edition 40k, I could get that easy.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want that. So it's all well and good saying, oh, but you've got the old books. Yeah, I've got the old books. Who else does?
I think
who am I playing it with?
I think your point there, Maka, is something that I wanted to talk about as well, is if you have a group of hobby friends who want to play previous editions with you, and you got a good community, or a Horus Heresy group that is like, hey, let's play Maka's edition or 2.0 or even 1.0, right? You're very rich in terms of being a hobbyist.
Yeah,
you're very rich.
That's a rarity.
That's worth more than having enough disposable income to buy an army every month. It is. That's literally empirically worth more, because, as much as people say, hey, I don't really like the gaming side of the hobby, so I'm not going to play it. And it's like sorry, my mum's calling me. It's like, Joe, when somebody with a small dick says, hey, size doesn't matter. Well, you would say that because you've got a small dick. But like, it's so when people say, well, I don't play the gaming side of the hobby because it's not fun. Well, you're not very good at it though, are you? It's not for you. That's not what you do it with. So this is what I mean. Like, sorry, I was getting a phone call from Mum. At the moment, just so you all know, like, my grandpa is very, very, very ill. So, like, my mum just gave me a call, so that's just knocking me off a little bit. I don't think anything's happened. I'm just thinking, and my mind just went, huh? What was I saying? Oh yeah. So I just think a lot of the people who complain about, not liking to do the gaming side of the hobby are people who either aren't very good at it or don't want to get good at it, right? I'm not saying 10th edition's really good. I'm not saying you should all give it a try and do this and do that. I'm not saying that at all. But there is a bit of a dichotomy there. I think if everybody had the chance to play 40k, they would. Do you know what I mean? If everybody had the chance to play an edition that they enjoyed with people that they liked, they would. It wouldn't matter if it wouldn't matter if it was Rogue Trader, 3rd edition, 4th edition, whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? The gaming side of the hobby is extremely important, and a lot of people on my own channel will try, and other people on other people's channels as well. I've seen it on both your channels too. Will try and degrade the gaming side of the hobby and say, well, it's for tryhards, it's for this, it's for that. No, the game is for tryhards. Yes, I agree. 10th edition right now is heavily skewed towards esports, things like that. But that doesn't mean the hobby is, right? The game, wargaming's fucking awesome. Like, anybody who's played any sort of like your bolt action, whatever, they will tell you it's awesome. So Games Workshop's damage to it is kind of unforgivable because it spreads this attitude amongst the fan base of all gaming is this when it isn't. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it creates that perception. No, that's a very valid point. I haven't considered that before. Because it's going to spread and influence and change that wholesome narrative wargaming core slowly but surely. And actually, you can see it in 40k. That's like the perfect example, right? Because now, by and large, most people will consider 40k to be this is a serious competitive gaming system, right? This isn't a narrative system, right? But just a few editions ago, only 3, right? Well, maybe not 7th, maybe 4. Like back in 5th and 6th, beautiful, right? It's flavorful rules which encourage the hobby, the creative component, right? And 10th edition 40k has stripped that away. All of GW systems have stripped that away because that's kind of how they want their systems to be, how they want their products to be, rather. They don't look at creating game systems. They're trying to sell products.
Lads, I'm going to have to go because I've had some news, so I'm going to have to go and deal with that. but
That's
yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
family stuff.
Understandable.
I think it's also worth pointing out to the audience before North nips off that you actually have hung around despite getting news in the background, because that is your commitment. I don't think people recognise that. So good luck, North. If you need anything, we're here.
Yep.
Thank you, dudes.
Take care, dude.
All right, enjoy the rest of the episode, everybody. All right, bye now.
Oh, well, now that he's gone, we can get on with the real episode.
I know, right? Finally, jeez. I'm not sure how much more time you have left. We're about an hour 20 in, Mecca, but
Yeah, no, I think up to you. But do you have any like final thoughts or anything about the whole situation, financial reports, and company treatment of the community? Like,
definitely a curveball, but like I can't say it's not expected. Like we have that I think I threw it into a group chat I have with you, where it's like, yeah, I'm cautious. Oh, I'm watching the Horus Heresy Fallout, Horus Heresy 3.0 Fallout, because it's for all the wrong reasons. I'm watching it. I think that's how I phrased it, because like I'm curious, and I think you and North probably are as well. Like, where's the tipping point, right? What will the fallout be from a real major hit? And
I think we need to be looking forward 12 months.
That's probably more
Because
likely.
12 months' time, next edition of 40k, right? So, 11th edition 40k and how that is received, I think it's very hard for them to screw an edition of 40k.
I think
Generally,
so too.
the rules are fine enough that the community just sort of hand waves their way through the problems. It's really 40k does that successfully because it makes sure to white ant the edition before it get riddles it with termites so that you're bidding for a replacement edition. I could be wrong, but that's just
No,
every
that's the
edition I
trend,
can think
right?
of. Yeah, every edition I can think of going back to 6th, it was like, hey, this kind of sucks. Wouldn't you like a new edition? And it's like, well, you made it suck. Stop doing that.
Yeah. Well, what's that? The phrase like past actions can judge future actions, something along those lines.
Yeah, it's the biggest predictor of future actions is past actions.
So
And it's like 8th edition started out, let's go back to end of 6th. So they go into 7th and they're like, yeah, we're fixing the missions, we're improving the psychic phase. They made the psychic phase worse. They made the missions far worse, and then they added detachments, data slates, decurions, all that.
And that's the termites.
Cancer.
Yeah.
The refined cancer. Like,
Well,
it's like,
the two up rerollable
we
inbones,
found the
right?
opposite of a cure. We're injecting you with the opposite of a cure. Then they gave us 8th edition, and then it was like, oh, indexes right at the start, everyone's sort of on equal footing. It didn't appeal to everyone. That was the edition where I bowed out finally.
Well, it's a big
40k.
That was a big pivot, right? Because that's the real change in core rules at that point. Because 3rd through 7th is still riding that same. It's always building upon itself with each edition, but it seems
20 years of refinement thrown out.
That's where there's a hard pivot in the foundational layer of rules, and then 8th onwards, still using that same 8th edition framework.
Yeah, and that's not to say there's not some great rules 8th edition onwards. There are, but on the balance of it, I looked at it same as with 3.0, and I went, not for me. List building in particular was a big one for me, and the changes made to war gear. They were the two biggest killers for me, not getting into 8th edition 40k. Because I'm a narrative gamer. Horus Heresy and the ability to make my army is the appeal.
100%.
Going, I am going to take a model and create something nobody else has yet. I'm going to do this justice. And then the ultimate high is when people start copying me, because that means, hey, I created something people like. That's always a great feeling, right? So,
hell yeah.
And
dude.
40k couldn't do that for me because it was more interested in no model, no rules. Corsaro Khan doesn't need a bike, that bullshit.
Yes.
And then it brought that to 3.0. Yeah, Jacket Eye doesn't need a bike. so, okay, I guess we're there again, So there were some great rules in 8th. But then 8th, by the end of the edition, had descended into the Codex slop. It's like, why did you need 2 Marine Codexes in one edition? Well, because you just kept adding more Marine shit, I guess, So and there were other issues at the end of 8th, so they killed that. So then 9th edition comes along, and what was the condition of 9th by the end of it? Pretty poor.
Oh,
People
it
were
was just-
begging for 10th.
It was, yeah, and that's where we find ourselves. So 10th is beginning to show those kinds of issues, but because of I feel like GW has catered to this tournament community, but it also, to a degree, they have to rein in those egregious changes more and more so, the more they cater to that community, right? Because the tournament community wants what they perceive to be a nicely balanced competitive gaming system. Excuse me as I throw up in my mouth. But because of that, they also have to. They can't really. Well, they can't as easily leave the 2-up rerollable invuln save. The almost intentionally busting the game so that it can easily justify. So you have these soft problems. I think might be a better way to frame it from 9th to 8, like. From 9th to 10th anyways, right? So yeah, there's functional problems, but they can't leave it in a complete state of disrepair because it still needs to be... The game system still has to facilitate organized events, right? World championships, world team tournaments, things like that, right? So it can't be an utter farce. But like with regards to like the acceptance of a new 40k edition, it's hard for me to imagine the 40k community having the response of Horus Heresy 3.0, just because there seems to be GW seems to have a stronger iron grip over the 40k tournament players because they're vested in the organized system facilitating that credible, official, competitive scene. Is probably off the cuff the best way I can describe it. Whereas, Horus Heresy has that narrative groundswell.
How big is the errata though for 40k 10th edition?
It's a fair few pages. It gets updated every quarter with a few paragraphs.
If it wasn't actually a fun game, it looks like the sort of tome that they would be giving school kids to do book reports on.
Yeah.
Like,
Spot the changes, right?
It is a beefy old document. And to me, that's not the sign necessarily of a really healthy game system, because it goes to show that they released that edition knowing it was full of holes. Now, that's sort of thing you do when you're doing damage control for an edition, in my opinion, which is what I'd be doing for 3.0. I'd be going, here, that's the kind of treatment this game needs. Not so much the core rules of 3.0, although I think a lot of people are being, I wouldn't say bad faith argument. I think they're just being overly optimistic when they go, oh, the core rules of the game aren't so bad. No, when you can't shoot through 3 inches thick of terrain, that's bad.
Yeah.
When the chart to create your armies has people like doing half-hour-long YouTube videos explaining how this construction works, that's bad. Like, you're taking systems that worked and were simple and you just change them because fuck it, you felt like changing them. Refining them, sure, I'm refining them in my edition. Like, let's add some different Force Org slots because clearly there are things that need to be split up. You can't have 5 units in fast attack and 20 in heavy support and give them the same Force Org slots. Like,
that's
silly.
Love that change. God, I miss Force Org. I miss when list building had some constraints, not just rule of 3.
Constraints make it so much more interesting.
Oh, that's like game mechanics 101, right? Or design in general, right? Like just general.
And
design
some people will
things.
disagree because they can
abuse it and build a stronger list. Get out of here.
Yeah, I know, right?
Stupid.
I think narratively though, the restrictions are far more interesting. Mm-hmm. And so
Well, now it becomes interesting when you see a composition of units. It's like, oh wow, I wouldn't have thought to take this collection and this grouping of units and that squadron and put them together, and still stay within the Force Org, right? See how you've configured your detachments. Like that's interesting, right? When you see a 40k 10th edition list, and it's like, oh, rule of 3 is my only limitation. Well, like, what have you spammed? Oh, you spammed this and you spammed that. I guess that That's about as interesting as it gets.
And that's the thing, right? If they don't cater to that, then it's like, it's not for me.
Yeah, well, like, like I've made these thematic list build videos since the channel started, more or less, because it's like a fun little thing to do, and it's like I don't have to go through the labor of building an army. I can just kind of imagine what it would be like and what I would do, and it's like a fun little experiment. And then I can share the video, and people find novelty in it too. And maybe they have a list idea or inspired, whatever else. But tracking this trend, even those videos have become less interesting to do because of the lack of constraints, honestly, right? And the lack of options broadly throughout, in simplifying down the game. Yeah, and the removing
it doesn't
of options,
help as well.
It makes it harder.
That like a faction like, Space Marines is the biggest offender because it's the biggest faction.
Mm-hmm.
But I get it; it's a cash cow, and they sell more Space Marines than probably anything else. I think that's not a
totally
silly
agreeable
argument to make.
No, not at all.
But because they have something to deal with everything, jeez, it's boring. Jeez, it's boring. 40k Space Marines, because there's no constraints there. The only constraints is, do you have the points? Well, that's not a limit, realistically, is it?
Well, no, I mean everyone. That applies to all armies.
Because really, that's the only constraint. Otherwise, it's like you have a tool for doing everything and doing it quite well. Like very few other factions are like, hey, I have anti-tank. They're also really durable. A lot of factions is glass hammers. I have anti-tank. They can't really take a hit though if you focus them with anything. Space Marines are not like that. It's a have your cake and eat it too type faction. Like, oh, we've got really fast units that can get there with ease. Like Dark Eldar. They're pretty good if they can get into assault. Like they'll mess you up. Space Marines, we also can get there pretty quickly, but we've got power armor and lots of wounds, and we can take a hit. We also have some of the best average, weapon skill, strength, toughness, wounds in the game. Shockingly, it's like there's no constraints there. That's not very interesting to me to play. Whereas, look at Horus Heresy. The thing that stood out to me was even amongst Marines, there was a lot of variety, because it's like, ooh, this Legion's really good at close combat, and if you let them get in close, they're going to hand it to you in close combat. This Legion's really good at shooting, but only particular types of shooting. So if you play into that strength, it will help you, but if you don't play into it at all, you will get no benefit from playing this force. That's interesting. I don't really see that with 40k.
Yeah, the inbuilt
I could be
weaknesses.
wrong in my perceptions. Yeah, you see it with the Xenos. The Xenos factions are full of that. Look, you've got to rob Peter to pay Paul. Everything is a trade-off. There are very few units I can think of, from what I know of 40k and the battle reports I occasionally watch, where it's like, oh yes, I can take a balanced army of a bit of everything, and it will work out perfectly fine. It seems to be a lot of spamming of the same units that goes on to me.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, well, this is just what's effective. Go.
Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. You'll have these very efficient units that are conveniently not the ones that were efficient last edition. Funny how that works every time. Actually, side tangent. Is that the case with 3.0? This is like a burning question I had, and I was waiting for the books to become apparent. Yeah, okay.
Dreadnoughts were nerfed
lame.
into the ground.
So lame. How about on the war gear side? Was there like a clear, let's say, for ease of example, a clear anti-tank solution in 2.0 that was like, by and large, the best, the staple?
Less cannon heavy support squad.
Yeah. And now is it out of favor?
Okay, so 2.0... Lascan Heavy Support Squad was really, really, really good because you had long-range firepower. Mm-hmm. You had reactions that allowed you to shoot 2 to 3 times in a single phase per turn if you played your cards right. And you had brilliant anti-tank firepower, but also the nastiest thing in the battlefield was weapon skill 5, predominantly Terminators with Thunderhammers. So if you could kill those at range, that unit just became a do-anything unit. And it was very hard to touch that unit because of the fact that if you shot at them, they would go, you want 10 las cannons back? You want some of this? And then you had Thunderhammers, where it was like anything they touched died. in close combat because it was brutal too. So you rolled your armor saves, and you had to roll 2 armor saves for every wound that was caused on you, and they were instant death wounds most of the time because they were thunderhammers. Then you come into 3.0. Now it's melter guns, which were not terrible, but definitely not las cannons in the last edition.
Yeah, they were a cut below, I would imagine, right? Like, it's just clearly there's a lack of potency. Like, they should be a bit stronger, probably, for parity, but now it's been inverted.
Yes, so now melter guns are like clearly where it's at is a combination of, like, Salamanders are very strong this edition. They went from being one of the worst Space Marine legions in Heresy 2.0 to one of the best, because they've got a lot of status effect weaponry combined with a lot of very high damage output weaponry. And oftentimes, like on Pyroclast, they're on the same unit because they can swap between heavy flamers, which are automatic status effects, and melter guns. It's like, well, not great writing to me.
Oh, I fucking hate that kind of rules
you take the bottom legion,
management,
you make them the top.
Yeah, well,
same as Raven Guard. Raven Guard were one of the worst legions because all of their traits in 2.0 were written by a fucking spastic. So it was, you could infiltrate with your basic Marines, but you couldn't infiltrate with anything with the heavy rule. But all the stuff with heavy was like your Terminators, your Breaches, your heavy support squads. So it's like, well, they're the kind of units you want to infiltrate. Not because you want to get in close and try and assault, because you've got no bonuses for charging. You're just getting there quickly. Because you're not a close combat legion. You're the Raven Guard. You're a bit of a stealthy legion. Your heavy support squads, you want to infiltrate them into places like, the church steeple, so you can get, view over the whole battlefield. And if you deploy wisely, you can really help swing the game your way, because your gimmick is that trait is one use only. It's in your deployment phase. And if you don't make use of it, that's it. You've got nothing else for the rest of the game as a buff to your legion. Whereas the other guy might be Imperial Fist, who gets +1 to all his bolt and autocannon rolls for the entire game. So he's making bank every turn. You've got to play your cards really smart in 2.0 as a Raven Guard player. But you can't infiltrate those units that would be really, really good to infiltrate. And then it gives you a bonus to charging if you're those units. Who's charging with Legion heavy support squads?
Yeah.
Well, that's not what they're for. You're better to stand still and shoot. And let them charge you, and then Overwatch them with full ballistic skill las cannons. That's way more devastating than swinging at them with a single strength 4 attack, which gets to reroll 1s to wound as the benefit of charging them. Like, that was the buff. That was it. That's not great. And then they had assault squads also benefited from that rule, but assault squads come with what weapon? Chainswords. And chainswords are reroll all to wound rolls in close combat at all times, regardless of whether you charge or not. So they had no benefit either from the Legion trait. So it was absolutely pointless on those. And then you go, all right, what about the infantry? The Mordathan, they're specialist elite snipers. Or they could infiltrate anyway, it was baked in. So they get nothing from the Legion rules. And the special assault guys, the Dark Furies, all have lightning cores, which again, reroll all to wound rolls anyway. It's the lightning cores thing. So they got no benefit from the Legion traits. So those two legions would be just as good in any other legion than the one they were a part of.
Embarrassing.
It makes no sense. But now you go to 3.0, and Raven Guard's Legion trait now is you can't get shot at over 18 inches away.
Oh, very good.
Very fucking good. That's just a no-brainer. And I don't like rules like that. I loathe rules like that. I don't write anything like that. Because it requires... Not interactive, but also it requires 0 brain power. It takes the strategy out of the war game. Because the only player who needs strategy then is the opponent. Because you just have to do one very simple thing. Stay more than 18 inches away.
Yeah, it's completely passive. Well, yeah, it's very easy.
It's really good for you if you've got stuff which excels in killing things at a distance. Because you're like, well, it's rewarding that playstyle. And shooting phases are always more effective in 40k than assault phases. That's been a rule since probably 3rd edition, when they started getting rid of, in 3rd edition, the assaulting from one combat into another. When they removed... so it used to be sweeping advance. Used to be if you won a combat with a unit that could sweeping advance, and you rolled far enough after winning the combat, you could go into another combat. And if it hadn't been fought yet that turn,
you could join it and fight in it. So
I mean,
melee
that
armies
makes
were really
sense.
deadly in third edition 40k. So you might have a bloodthirster, for example. You charge an enemy unit, you kill the whole squad off, and then you sweeping advance into a close combat next to you with Khorne Berserkers who haven't fought yet, and now you join them in fighting. So the bloodthirster and the Khorne Berserkers work together now to take down their opponent.
Let's say multiple
really dangerous.
activations, so that
Yes.
bloodthirster would be able to fight twice, essentially.
Yeah,
that is very good.
that he could keep going potentially, like, and that made third edition like, hey, you've this because this is the edition where Tower introduced, right? So it was either you gun them down in time or you're screwed, because and then from fourth edition onwards they got rid of that. It was you couldn't go into other combats or anything like that.
Was that a glaring problem in your estimation? Because from the sound of it, I don't hate it. It is intriguing.
It could be,
mechanically.
or what had to go right to pull it off though.
That's fair,
Because
because
those
it's such a big
Great
get.
Demon. Yeah, Great Demon was only like 4 wounds, maybe 6 on the Great Unclean one. So it wasn't like really that much to kill. And they didn't have armor saves, they only had invols. It was 5 up invol. And I think the Bloodthirster had an actual armor save of like 3+. It wasn't even 2+. It was 3+ regular save and a 5 up invol. So it was pretty. You could gun it down with bolt guns if you had a couple of good rolls. So it was an achievement. If you got in there with your Bloodthirster or your Avatar of Cain, you felt like you were going to get your points back. It wasn't a feels bad where, yay, I charged one unit and I killed that unit and now I'm just standing in the open and I die next turn. It would reward you. And if you swept into another combat but it hadn't taken place yet, you were starting a fresh combat, then the turn ended, but you were locked in combat for the next turn. So I thought it was a fun system. Yeah, it could be insane. Blood Angels could do like 18-inch moves with rhinos and then charge out of them because the supercharged rhinos, like that was pretty batshit insane. But that was very much the exception, not the rule. And they toned that down very quickly. No, I liked the melee rules in third edition. The edition overall was lacking flavor in a few forces, but the melee rules were a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't hate that mechanic as you describe it. It sounds like there's a real substantive gain from well-coordinated melee engagements, which there should be. When you have power
we haven't
armor
had that
transhumans.
since.
Yeah.
We haven't had that since. Now
Well,
they focus on your melee being like. I think every edition since 8th has been in 40k is very Alpha Strike.
Yeah,
and I'm not referring to BattleTech. It's can I shoot them enough that they can't cause enough damage to me from that point on for me to lose?
Essentially, it's one of my biggest grievances. This is kind of a tangent, but like my biggest grievances with 10th edition as it is currently, and as you outlined, it's kind of been this way through 8th, but because 10th is a refinement of 8th, both in terms of rules and the competitive kind of mindset of how players operate the game and the mission, it's all coordinated around this idea of how I would probably frame it, how my one buddy frames it to me, is like your go turn. You position everything, and you know what the missions are. Yeah, you have dynamic secondaries, but you can play fixed secondaries too, right? It's so you're playing your mission and poising yourself up for one turn to basically ram your fist down your opponent's throat as hard as you can, so that you can have scoring, battlefield control. And on one hand, that does sound like, a tactical maneuver, right? You're being strategic. But from a gaming experience point of view, it becomes like, once that moment happens, it's a very like superfluous engagement, right? Because it's like, okay, well now I can't come back from this. We're just gonna play it out, essentially, is what it becomes, right? Maybe if dice went your, I was gonna say if dice go your way, but typically you have enough agency with stratagems and rerolls and presently in 40k where when you position for that go turn, you're able to just utterly make the rest of the game pointless, essentially, right? Because that's what you're poising to do, and I don't like that from a shared experience on a tabletop. Like that's an outcome that's very much competitive gaming, ruining the narrative experience for me. I mean, there are going to be turning points, right? Decisive moments for sure, but I think that should be like the slang of a warlord. You know what I mean? Like it.
Yeah, there's probably a great study to be done down the line, probably by a university somewhere, about how the interaction between minor tweaks that don't seem like they'll do much on the surface have those flow-on consequences. Like I've spoken before about in the Horus Heresy 2.0, how moving an extra 1 inch on Marines totally modified the game. And it's like, it's 1 inch. Why would that matter, right? Well, that's what she said. But you go, well, hang on. The whole game was balanced around 6 inches. 6 inches is what everything is multiplied by pretty much for weapon ranges. 2 sets of models movement is a bolt pistol. 4 sets of models movement is a bolt gun. 6 sets of model movement is a heavy bolter. You know, when you roll your distances for charges, it's 2d6. D6s are multiples of 6 when you roll 6s on them, right? So, like, it was all based around that. Everything was 6 related. Now you've added a 7 into the equation. It's like, well, hang on a minute. What happens now? Well, instead of crossing the battlefield in turn 4, needing to cross 24 inches of no man's land to be in the other deployment zone to try and charge, you're doing it in 3 turns. So potentially you're charging a turn earlier. So what's the flow-on consequence of that 1 inch now? Well, now the other side has to shoot at you faster. Well, their shooting has to be more dangerous, but if their shooting is too dangerous, your models die too quickly. So now we have to increase wounds or armor saves or toughness. And I see this in 40k very strongly with the way damage works on their weapons. Because then they start adding damage in, and then the damage starts getting out of control, so then they've got to mitigate the damage going out of control. It can't all be 3 damage or 2 damage on these weapons. Oh, it can't all be mortal wounds. You know, they try and, like, rein it back in a bit. And it's like, because it's these flow-on consequences no one thinks of when they make a very subtle minor change. And I think there's a great study to be made there of, like, hey, what simple, like, butterfly flapping its wings in the Amazon causes the hurricane?
Yeah, well,
it may sound like a silly example, but I think it's legitimate. Please,
no,
let me know.
Oh yeah, please comment and share similar. Like what comes to my mind is, and it's not as subtle of a change, but the consequence of shifting to a smaller table size is massive, right? And I believe it's all in service of having more games take place at events, perhaps, right?
Well, they say that they're improving the gameplay, so games play faster, but they're not. They just shorten the game turns. So the games aren't
that's for
actually
3.0,
faster.
right?
It's the well, they've kind of done it in 40k too. It used to be 7 turns was the average.
Oh yeah. No,
How many
fair point.
7-turn games do you play now?
Oh, fuck, never, because it's not match play, bro.
Ta-da! So you shorten the game turns, and then they're able to turn around and go, see, game's shorter. It's like, well, fuck it. Yeah, why don't we make it shorter still? Just roll a d6 before the game starts. 1, 2, or 3, I win. 4, 5, or 6, you win. All right, good game. just silly. Like, they didn't improve it through mechanics. They removed a turn from the game and went, yeah, if we remove 25% of the duration of the game, somehow it ends up shorter. Like, shocking news. 2 or 3 turns from the game.
Yeah, that's a weird one, because when you think about, typically you have less units. The latter half of the game is significantly shorter. That's not a disagreeable. I think that's pretty factual, honestly, right? Because
the latter half of the game is better. Is the better half of the game. You know why? I'll put money on this, right? So, hear me out. Do you trust me or not, is the question.
Okay, lay it on me.
It's the more tactical half of the game. Because you have destroyed one another's army, and now you're in the scramble. The scramble for victory.
Yeah.
So unless it's a cakewalk, which it rarely is in a good game, it's rarely a cakewalk. Because that's why it's a good game, because it's tight.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the, do I take that objective? Do I take this objective? Do I try and take that secondary? I can't kill that thing with this thing. I need this thing, but it's got a job to do over here, and I need it there. What do I do? That's when the turns start getting really difficult. Turn 1 and 2 is just, I got my whole army, let's just shoot.
Like, it's super easy, like, because you've got all the tools at your disposal, right? But in turns, especially older editions of 40k, turns 5 and 6, you're like, fuck, it is down to the wire here. I need an objective. Where am I getting it from?
No, that's a
And
totally
that, to me,
agreeable
is
position.
far more fun, because that's where turn 1 and 2, you can walk away from the table and go and grab a beer while the other guy's moving his models, and you come back and you're like, you know, here's a beer for you, mate. Turn 5 and 6, you're sweating. You know, that's the turns that take it out of you mentally. You're not sitting there in turn 1 just deliberating like, oh my god, what do I shoot? Where do I go with my models? Oh, I just can't decide. There's no procrastination in turn 1. Turn 7, oh, you're like the $1 million question on prices on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Analysis paralysis.
Is that crazy?
Yeah. No, it's that's a very agreeable position, 100%. The shortening of the game, like limiting of game turns, is, I think it's way more harmful. Narratively, I think it's objectively worse, right? I see why it was removed, right? Because that was a lot of the chatter in my local play group too. It was, oh, it's so lame. Like, I've been on the objectives, I've been playing the mission, so well, and then just because you passed the roll off, you won the game. That's lame. Like, I would hear that constantly, and at the time, I could like empathize with that position. Like, oh, okay, fair enough. But man, I've come
If you
come
played
around.
the game so well, how
Yeah.
did you snatch victory from the jaws of
Yeah,
defeat
yeah.
so easily?
I like
But it was
that
down to
twist,
1 or 2
man.
dice?
That unpredictability that comes from the game going on longer or shorter, and then when you frame that with flavorful factions using that to their advantage because their lore situates them to be able to do so, like you've illustrated with various 30k legions. It's like, oh man, chef's kiss. Like it's so good, and now that that component part of the machine here, of the mechanics of the game design, is lacking.
I do not sit there getting shitty when someone pulls it out at the end and
Yeah.
just games their ass off.
Yeah, the whole
and just
time
plays
that
it
could
smart.
happen, right?
I sit there going, fuck, you legend. Like, you played that so well, you got me. You got me. And even in my tournament days, when I was a top 10 tournament player in the country in 40k, back in my day, we're talking 5th, 6th, 7th edition here. It was, I never was bitter of that sort of thing. I was like, oh, that's what makes it a fun game. You know?
Mm-hmm.
That shouldn't be a problem. If that's a problem, like, you've got problems. You know, like, just be happy you had a tight game that came down to the wire and it could have gone either way. That means you both played really well. Like,
Yeah.
the only time to be
I don't
upset
disagree.
is when the other guy's coming out there with like 40 victory points in turn 2. And you've just got nothing on the table. Because that's clearly something went very, very wrong. That shouldn't have happened in the game. Because game's not designed for that to happen.
Agreed. Yep.
So, yeah. I that loss of narrative focus has really hurt the game, I think. And again, it's something that seems on the surface like, oh, well, it speeds up games. You know, you get more games in because you're not playing those turns. Who cares? They don't really matter. You can probably pick a winner by turn 4. By turn 4, like I say, Heresy. You play Mariskara. It's a Rite of War for the Emperor's Children, and it was you basically pick a turn to bring your reserves on. And there's such a skilled legion that they literally don't roll for their reserves. That is the turn. You write down at the start of the game, this is the turn they're coming in on. You put it on a piece of paper.
Awesome.
And they come in automatically.
Meanwhile,
you
everyone
say
else
it's
is rolling.
Siege of Cathonia missions, and they're 4 turns. So all the expansions in 2.0 were 4-turn missions. You go, so really, do they come on in turn 2 or turn 3? If you bring them on in turn 3, you've got 1 turn to affect the game.
Yeah.
Why
Terrible.
would I waste my reserves in that? That's just silly. You've just robbed me of narrative choice. If I have 7 turns, like it used to be, say 6 with random game length, you go, oh, okay, why not come on turn 4? Let the 2 sides slaughter each other, and then I bring in half a fresh army from reserves. Now you've got to deal with that. That's tactics.
Mm-hmm.
And no, that's taken away from you. You don't have that anymore. You don't get to enjoy that. So I frown strongly upon that decision-making process. I know it appeals to those who
I'll be a little bit derogatory and just say have short attention spans. You can't sit down for 5 minutes and let the other person move their models on the board without them also getting to move models. It's just not interactive enough if I don't get to roll dice every time you do.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Like, I can appreciate alternating activations, but I'm not as much of a diehard for it as North is, from as far as I can tell, because I know he very much prefers it. But in a full-size wargame, I don't need that. I'm more than happy to have it be about the narrative outcome with the tactical element there.
Yeah, it's a point of diminishing returns, isn't there, with alternating activations, because it does become a bit of a bookkeeping exercise.
Yes.
Because now you've got to remember each and every unit's actions that turn.
Yeah, has this been activated yet, or has it not? That sort of thing.
You do that to an extent when you're taking your turn normally.
Yeah.
But we have a sort of logical order of doing it, it'll be like left to right, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I'm going to move all my models, this unit, this unit, this unit.
My Vanguard type units, yeah, I'll activate them first. It's easy enough to keep track of.
When it's like initiative based or something, it's like, then you start having to randomly start, moving units around the table. That's when it becomes a little confusing.
Yeah, I think one-page rules gets away with it. Because they have smaller game size, smaller game
size, exactly right.
But if you want that narrative spectacle,
3,500 points.
Exactly, right. If you want the narrative spectacle, you want lots of units because it's about look at this awesome board, right? Amazing. This is why we painted our models, right? And everyone's feeling good.
And people point to games like X-Wing, fun game. X-Wing has like 5 starships on the table. And they've all got a special counter behind each starship with what it's doing that turn. That's a lot easier to remember than 15, 20 units in your army and then all the special rules and then all the other stuff going on around. It's not that it's impossible. It's not that you can't fathom that workload. But when you're trying to keep an eye on your stuff, plus the other guy's stuff, plus remember the rules of both sides, it can be a bit overwhelming. There are pros and cons to every system, and I go, you go. Whole turns versus activation of initiative values versus, there's trade-offs for all of them. And I'll say I dislike people who just come in like I'm doing a circle edition, just go, it needs to be I go, you go. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. That's what you like. And if you want to play that, all the power to you. Take my edition and convert it into whatever you like. But don't come in and pretend like it's the objectively superior. There's trade-offs.
Yeah. No,
neither of them is superior.
It's... Well, I think maybe cases can be made for different use cases. Like, if you're playing with 3,000 to 4,000 points of models, I think maybe a case can be made that it's not better. It's not better for... did you move that unit yet this turn? Oh, no, that was last turn I moved it. Are you sure? It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. And then now both people are confused. Like, that can very easily happen even in a 2,000 or 2,500 point game with alternating activations. Yeah, if
something like Zone Mortalis and there's like 4 units on each side, oh yeah, I go, you go, I'm
perfect. Yeah. You think of like X-Wing, Shadespire, or Underworlds, as they call it.
Yes.
Perfect.
All for it.
Makes sense. But
and I think that, personally, is the healthy approach to solving that problem.
Mm-hmm.
Run it that way. Don't do the 40k way where it's like not 40k way, that's not fair.
It's like the modern GW. Yeah, because Age of Sigmar has
and the double turn thing. I really don't like the double turn thing, and I don't know why people like that as a game mechanic either.
As I've been recently dabbling in Age of Sigmar, I haven't played enough games to really evaluate the double turn. My gut intuition going into it is like, it feels like such a get, right? It's like, you won the roll off and just when it mattered. I don't know. Is the double turn similar to the game going on? A stroke of luck that allows that other person to achieve victory? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not confident.
It would be if it was like a single unit getting the double turn. It's not when it's a whole army, because it's like, my stuff did what it wanted, now it gets to do it again.
Yeah, it seems very oppressive.
Yeah, if and especially if you're in the dying turns of the game, it's like, well, you essentially just got an extra turn in the game.
You know,
Yeah,
and
back to
this
back.
comes to the fore if it's a shooting army and they get to pummel you twice in a row. Oh, you realize that's happening to you.
Oh, that's when, yeah, you'll feel it. Oh, undoubtedly.
And if they're picking the activations and they get to just basically have the pick of who's charging who because of when they pick their activations, it just shuts down all your agency. Because, like, oh, not only did they get it at the end of last turn, but they've just done it to me again this turn. And now I've got, like, one unit that's not engaged in close combat. So I guess I'll use that unit. I guess I'll do something with it.
Yeah, it's a weird one because, like, imagine if they're just coming off of that go turn where they've spent all their resources, all their stratagems to just dummy you into the dirt, and they're like, oh, well, it'd be really good if I could do that again.
And then they do.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a bit of a
bad.
problem.
It feels very bad.
I think in Sigmar, the way fight phase resolves, it's not too bad. But yeah, as you were mentioning, if you're someone who's teched in for shooting and you're poised for it, oh man, yeah, that double turn could be very brutal. In theory, anyways. I haven't dabbled too much. But even 40k and Heresy since 2.0 has been having these out of phase activations for your army on the opponent's turn. Which is
That's why reactions are a feel bad. Like, especially 2.0 reactions were a real feels bad because it was, all right, unit comes in for reserves. Cool, my unit has war gear that allows me to shoot them with full ballistic skill and it costs me no reaction. Like, what? Yeah, it costs me 10 points in army selection. Oh, okay. And they're like, cool.
That seems pretty good.
All right, that unit you struck in next to my heavy support squad. Oh, you're going to shoot me? Okay, cool. I'm going to overwatch you, so I'm going to shoot you again. But you already shot that unit this turn. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So they shoot you again in the shooting phase. Either they do an overwatch. And then they do a return fire. And then you're like, oh, fuck this. Like, you've slaughtered my Terminators. Fine, I'll charge you. And they're like, no, now we're going to overwatch you. Like, you shot me 3 times in my own turn. And then you have players...
Is that
like,
2.0 or 3.0?
2.0.
Did they rectify that? Did they dial it back?
Moved those goalposts. Yeah, they have. They've moved those goalposts. The cancer is elsewhere.
Yeah, okay. Because what you're describing, I'd be surprised if you honestly said no, they kept it in, because that's what 40k is suffering from right now, essentially, right? In 40k, they've made Overwatch so valuable because you can do it in the opponent's movement phase. And people, surprise, surprise, especially when you frame the game from a competitive point of view, will abuse the shit out of it. Because they'll find their most potent flamers, and now it becomes like a crucial element of their defense. And then to compensate for that, now they have a lot of units. In the Eldar Codex, it's in the army rule to ignore Overwatch. And then a lot of these detachments, they keep dropping into the game system because there's not enough rules bloat. They've added a lot of stratagems where it's not as uncommon to see units ignoring Overwatch. Where at the start of the edition, when they didn't understand the beast they've kind of made here, which is par for the course, you wouldn't rarely, or you'd I think never see something that could ignore Overwatch. You just had to eat it.
And did I not say earlier, like 40k has a huge problem with damage increasing and scaling, so then they have to bring in more damage mitigation? That is a case in point right there.
Perfect.
Now in 3.0, they made it so you do a shoot now on your way into an assault.
So you shoot in the charge phase?
Yes.
Why? You just had a shooting phase.
Yeah, I know, it's fucking weird. Again, it's one of those, did this the direction the game needed to go? Like, if you polled people and they, what's the top 10
I just don't understand.
I don't think that would have been it.
Is it for units that don't shoot in the shooting phase?
Yeah. Kind of, I don't know, I'd have to read.
No worries.
From memory, it's still an assault weapons.
Yeah, I'm just, that threw me for a loop.
Very specific set of weapons. It's silly. Yeah, my favorite one in 2.0 was the Ultramarines Advanced Reaction, because it was, if your unit gets shot, you get to return fire with that and another Ultramarines unit that's in line of sight. So it was like, in theory, that heavy support squad could return fire 4 times over the course of their turn if you played it just right. And it's like, it was so easy to fix that. They never did, but all they had to do was just write a rule like a unit cannot perform more than 1 shooting attack per turn.
Yeah, that seems like a reasonable
player turn
rule.
So they could still overwatch, they could still intercept, but you get 1.
You know, not 3 or 4 times being shot by the same overpowered unit. Because, like, if they can't do that to you in their own turn, how can they do it to you in yours? It just feels bad.
Yeah, you're shooting more in the enemy's turn. Doesn't make any sense. Like, what are we even doing?
And again, like, this, and it's one of those things where you could have just fixed it with just such a simple sentence, and they never did.
Did they fix it in 3.0?
Well, they did. Yeah, they did.
How about that?
Completely how those mechanics
Fuck me.
work. But in 3.0, you have other weird mechanics that you're like, why did you put effort into this? And the challenge mechanic is that, because now challenges used to be any character, which was squad leaders, for example, like sergeants, tactical squads, could issue and accept challenges. Now it's literally you need to have the subtype attached to your unit, like a little asterisk name tag that says you can issue and accept challenges. You need to have like the command subtype or whatever it is. And so if you do a challenge, then you've got this challenge mini game that now takes place. It's like, hang on a minute. There's only a couple of HQs on the fucking table. Why have you introduced this entire mechanic and then given a special version of it to every legion? Like, why? Why are you wasting my time? If it doesn't apply to my whole army, why are you introducing this stupid phase? Like, you're relying on me to get a character, get them across the table, find another character, get into close combat with their unit, challenge that character, they accept that challenge, and then both of them participate in this. That is too niche.
The amount of restrictions, or the amount of restrictions. Yeah.
If you're playing a small game like a Necromunda, fuck yeah, awesome, let's do it. Because it's gonna come up a lot more often, right? But it's not. It's a massive, like, scale game where you might have 4 HQs on a table on each side, and you're gonna have like another 80 models on each side who are not those HQs doing all the death dealing. And what's the chances they have everything that happens, those guys repeatedly bump into each other? They're not very likely.
And that's only if if the opponent wants to reciprocate, right? Because they can want to avoid, right? I would imagine.
It's a safe rule of thumb. Exactly right. It's a safe rule of thumb with most people in any Warhammer games. You typically don't send your general after their general unless they're a beat stick. You typically use your characters to kill enemy lesser miniatures because you know they've got an advantage over that. So, for example, if I have a Primaris lieutenant, I know I can pretty comfortably send him into a unit of intercessors and he will kill them. But I'm not going to send a Primaris lieutenant to go and fight Marneus Kelgar, because he's going to get killed by Marneus Kelgar.
Naturally.
So why would I initiate that fight in the first place? I would try and avoid that fight. And it's the same is true of Horus Heresy. I'm not going to go send a Centurion to take on a Praetor. I'm not going to send a Praetor to take on a Primarch. I'm only going to fight a Praetor with another Praetor. And if my other Praetor is, like, if I'm playing, I don't know, Ultramarines, do I really want to pick a fight with a Space Wolves or like a World Eaters character? Probably not. He'll probably have me in that fight because that's what those legions do.
Reasonable. Totally reasonable. Yep.
And I think that's true across 40k, Age of Sigmar. Like, I've got Nighthaunt in Age of Sigmar. Kurdos Valentian's a real beat stick. Like, he will mess you up. But Kurdos Valentian can't fight Archaon. So why would I take him up on that fight? I would rather avoid Archaon, preferably with everything in my army, and kill everything else around him. So, yeah, I don't know. Silly game mechanics like that just make me go, what were you thinking when you wrote this?
That's change for change's sake, I'd say. Reinventing the wheel and calling it innovation.
And then sales plummet.
Like I said, I'm watching the follow with great interest.
Have you been watching the... this will probably be the last topic, right? But have you been watching these stores whose stock counts are going up?
No, but I mean, I've seen your posts. So insofar as that, yes, but not...
Yeah, I haven't really been talking too much about the stock levels and that because, like I said, I don't want to rage farm 3.0. I do want to talk about the interesting facets of it, don't get me wrong, or what I perceive as interesting facets. But watching independent retailers who have live stock tracking and watching the stock climbing
is just
Ugh.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I've never seen that before. Like those days of like the Sisters of Battle relaunch in plastic when everything was just gone instantly. They're gone those days. There's one system left where you can pull that off, and that's 40k.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think because we just had that a few months ago with Krieg and 40k, right?
Yeah, you're not getting that in Age of Sigmar.
Nope.
Yeah, Age of Sigmar 4th edition starter set did not do very well. Neither did the 3rd edition.
Mm-hmm.
In the scheme of well, they did okay, but in the scheme of they didn't sell out everything.
Yeah,
Easily find stock.
And we know that's what GW's metric is for their success, right? Produce just enough to meet demand and go out of production.
Heresy 3 tanked completely. Battle for Middle Earth, their last starter box, did not sell out. In fact, none of their starter boxes for a long time have sold out. Not since Return of the King days.
That would have been peak hype for sure.
Yeah, even the Hobbit. The Hobbit's an interesting one because when that released, it released with a limited edition Radagast the Brown in the box, right? As only for a limited time until those boxes were sold out. They never sold out. You were still able to get them like 3 years ago. From third parties, and Games Workshop themselves. I think I picked up a copy just for shits and giggles in like 2016 or something ridiculous like that from Games Workshop. They still had it in stock, and Hobbit films came out in like 2012,
right,
or 2011, or like it was maybe even earlier. So, it didn't do as well as Lord of the Rings did, because they weren't as good as the Lord of the Rings films were either, and of course prices were a lot higher, which doesn't help. Yeah, the only game that I think has consistently sold really well is 40k, and I'd say the last time that they were... I'm just doing some head maths. I don't think Leviathan sold out. It did well, but I don't think it sold out. I think they were... I won't say overproduced, but they probably got it nearly bang on, the amount of quantity they had to produce.
That sounds right from a rough recollection point of view. It's tough, man, because like I said... The tournament tards will be more than happy, I feel like, to pivot to what's... They'll grumble, but they'll pivot to what's official, what's decreed as... Whatever the organizers will yield to for organizing the events. If those guys yield, then the community probably will yield because that's what they're invested in, right? Whatever the status quo is. But the narrative players, like myself, the dauntless few that remain... in 40k that want a narrative system.
Both of you.
Yeah, both of us. I think would probably embrace a new edition if it claimed. You know what I mean? If it, if the overcorrection comes back the other way and they start adding in all the narrative kind of systems, and it's going to be flawed. It's going to have all the same problems we already have. But I think the normies that want the narrative game system from 40k back, they want their chapter masters, right? That sort of thing. If those are facilitated again, I think it'll be appreciated. Right? I don't think you'll have a poor launch. That's my perception anyways. Right? I don't know.
Their launches at this point are just nostalgia, but here is a mechanic that was discarded previously, and we told you how bad it was. Now it's back. Please buy our thing.
Oh, you definitely see that with Heresy. The last two, I feel like, are nostalgia bait.
How much second edition stuff have they brought back in 40k? It was discarded because it was not a great mechanic. Happens all the time. I mean, look at the Screamer Killer. Looks cool. I think that it's a great new model, the Screamer Killer. But you can't tell me
that's
that
fair.
No,
that is nostalgia. But yeah.
Granted, miniature, not rules. But 8th edition was doing a big song and dance about the 2nd edition rules it was bringing back. So
no, that's fair. And then probably you'll see. I don't know. I could imagine a 11th edition box set Probably, and I'm gonna fucking rage myself to death on it, but if they bring tactical squads back, like with the Loki meme of, oh, your savior is here, like, look, we've brought it back, don't you love? Oh, I'm gonna. It's so annoying to me. It's like,
I think they'll bring back a variant of that, like.
yeah.
Because Primaris, one of my complaints around 8th edition about Primaris sculpts were they had no heart. They were just so bland. There was no purity seals. There was no mixed armor marks. And they'll slowly be bringing that back since 9th edition starter box and the Blade Guard veterans. They started to bring back a bit of that flavor. They're like, oh yes, we made them too clean. They looked a lot more like Heresy miniatures. Let's start bringing back the these are warrior monks.
The character, yeah.
Yeah. And I definitely see them for 11th edition. I would not be shocked, because pretty much all the units of old are back. You know, we've got Terminators now, we've got Assault Marines, we've got Bikes. We're pretty much there. We've now fully replaced Firstborn. I would not be shocked if 11th edition starter box was a tactical squad.
It's just so stupid to me.
With Primaris versions of Mark 8 helmets.
Yeah, it'll have helmets. Mixed squad.
And Primaris with beaky helms, maybe Primaris with a bit of Mark 3 in there. Just, the Primaris tactical squad. And it's like a squad of intercessors, but also has like a heavy intercessor in there.
So fucking stupid. Yeah.
I would not put that past them, because it's creatively bankrupt.
Mm-hmm.
They only know how to take what exists already and just upcycle it. Oh, we have melter guns. Let's make a unit of them. Oh, we have plasma guns. Let's make a unit of them. That's just what they keep doing. I've not seen them do anything as interesting as the Masters of the Chapter in a long time.
Well, that's probably a good benchmark.
Hey, here's a bunch of characters that do all these different things. Take them or don't.
God, that was such a cool box set.
I know. And they bring back Sternguard. They bring back Vanguard veterans. Not with jump packs, but, Blade Guard are almost mixture of, like, Honor Guard meets Vanguard.
Oh, Vanguard, that's also on the table. That'll happen. They did Sternguard. They're just... it's in the bank, right?
Venerable Redemptor Dreadnought, is just like we're getting pretty thin on the ground of what they can bring back at this point that they haven't already done without redoing Primaris units at this point. And they've already redone a few Primaris units. They've already redone Chaplains and Librarians.
Yeah, but
Power Armored.
Yeah, characters. I'll give a pass on characters. Whatever. It's less egregious, right? For sure. But I see what you're saying.
Far less egregious. But when are they going to tackle regular intercessors? These are the questions I ask. Like maybe tanks like Vindicator. The floating Vindicator, floating Whirlwind. Because it's getting pretty thin on the ground with Firstborn stuff they have not yet redone.
You could...
Oh, by the way, Lysander on Mordian's video was like... We recorded that like 4 hours before the reveals, and I'm like, I can see them bring back Lysander next. And they did. And people will sit there, smart ass in the comments, go, anyone could have guessed that. Well, I fucking did guess that, okay? You didn't, I did. I picked it within 4 hours. Fuck you, asshole. Timing is everything.
Yeah, that's so funny.
I don't know. Land speeders, like, will they bring back land speeders that are more like the old Typhoon or something? Maybe. Hunter Stalker, like an anti-air Primaris thing, or a new Primaris Flyer. I could definitely see a Primaris Flyer being a thing.
So that would surprise me.
Like the Siphon in 30k, like that kind of a Flyer.
Yeah, like it would be undoubtedly cool, and they have them in lore, right? And you'll if you dig for it, you can find like references to unit types, but I would be surprised if they brought a Flyer, because it seems very clear, to me anyways, that in 40k, they don't know how to handle Flyers, and it's too much of an exception, because it's such a unique utility, as it would be, and it's hard to balance into the tournament game they are trying to create. So it seems to me, I'm more expecting all Flyers to go to Legends before another Flyer gets introduced.
That's a very good point, because they've pretty much done it to 30k too. Okay,
is that the case? Oh, okay.
It's not fully, but it kind of is. because they've ruined the rules of flyers. It's like you hardly ever deep striking using flyers. They've destroyed flyers. What about Centurions? The 40k Centurions, you know, the little Space Marine wearing the bigger Space Marine suit, like a Sat-9 Terminator?
Yeah.
What about that in Primaris form? So not as big as that Walker that they've got. That's not a Dreadnought.
Oh,
it's the size of the
Invictor,
Redemptor.
the Invictor warsuit.
Victor Warsuit. The thing's fucking awful. But making like a smaller version of that, so it's like bigger than Aggressor, but like half the size of that.
I mean, they could.
Primaris Centurion Devastators.
I think that might be more likely than an actual Devastator squad. See, it's weird because as soon as you have the Devastator squad back in, and if you give it rules, if you give it rules to be worthwhile, it begins to invalidate all these sub-specialist heavy weapon teams that they've made.
Yeah.
Right? So I could easily see like...
So you have to give them a different weapon.
Yeah.
So that's when you come
like
with another
Primaris.
Belisarius call.
Primaris Centurion Devastators might just have only like grav guns or something like this. They're so hyper specialized, right?
Ooh, you know what they haven't done actually? Mm-hmm. You know what the main... So every edition has a weapon of choice, right?
Yeah.
So like it was Plasmas in 8th, it was Melters in 9th, it's Flamers in 10th. You know what it'll be? Graviton.
I mean, it makes sense. It's the low-hanging fruit. It's the last remaining specialist marine unit type of a conventional war gear until you get into like conversion and neo-conversion beamers.
Heavy intercessors with graviton cannons, but they'll be called something else like Graviton Demi Culverin Anata 5000s.
Yeah, that very flavorful, very thematic naming of weapons.
Gravinon Carronade. Because they don't want to use like Volkite. It's too much overlap with Heresy. You know, they only want to like have a few member berries with Volkite pistols every now and then. No, it'll be Graviton weapons will be the go. Because they'll need those, because they'll be really good against Orcs, which will be the 11th box set. That's my prediction. Orcs. It'll either be Orcs or Dark Eldar, and I reckon Orcs are far more due for a box set.
I totally agree. I've had the similar prediction as well. Because I think I could imagine a Dark Eldar refresh with really awesome racks. Because they're kind of hurting.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's too Grimdark. I feel like Orcs are the safe choice.
Yeah, so Space Marine Tacticals and Graviton weapon wielding to kill the new revamped Killer Can or Death Dread, Mega Dread, whichever one. Because they'll be there like the unit, right?
The Screamer Killer in the box. Yeah, it'll be instead of God, I hate it.
Yeah. And it'll be an orc boss on a bike or something. Like orc bikers will be in the box. So it'll be like the Graviton will be really good killing bikes and dreads. Oh fuck, I can see it now. I mean, orcs deserve some love. I want to see that stuff for them. But yeah, I reckon that's what it'll be. It was something like really predictable like that. Because orc bikes are very long in the tooth.
Yeah, they're overdue. I think the Storm Boys are also overdue. Could pair well with Vanguard Vets. I don't know. Yeah, I think Orcs and Space Marines is more likely. It's more nostalgia bait. If it was Dark Eldar, you'd want Black Templars. That's the peak nostalgia bait, right?
Yeah, well, I was just saying that would be...
Yeah, I don't think you would pivot away from Ultramarines. I'd be super surprised.
So that'd be the most fun, like... Because they won't get away from Space Marines. You won't get Dark Eldar versus Orcs. That would be too much fun, but too niche.
Right.
So... But I could see Dark Eldar coming back with Asdrubal Vect, like Silent King style, where it's like, look, he's back. And,
he's not going to do anything.
Vect, and... he won't do anything.
But he's back.
He'll be there for a novel or two, and then he'll be forgotten. But yeah, like a Dark Eldar, new Cabalite warriors, and they'll be going up against, Cato Sicarius comes back, of course. Got to have an interesting someone for them to fight, right?
They're reasonable.
So Cato Sicarius, Primaris Sicarius. It sounds so stupid. But it'll be him, and he'll be leading the Ultramarines, like, in that fight. Yeah. I don't know. I think Orcs, bring back Orcs. Snagrod or something is like their main character for that release. Yeah, that's my prediction.
I think the safe one.
That's it. That's it. Got anything else?
No. This is a good chat. I probably should. We probably should wrap this up. But it was fun and long overdue. Because that was my bad in organizing the last one. But I think next go around is on your channel.
Yeah.
Do you have a topic you want to bait?
Oh, I think I do. I think I wrote it down a little while back. Let me have a quick scroll back through the chat.
Yeah, no worries on that. Yeah, I was actually thinking. I was just doing some painting and streaming last night, just chatting with the audience, and I was even wondering, like, look, with that decree of the Grey Knights, the little retcon there, hinting again the Emperor's coming back. I feel like at this point, if the Emperor came back, he wouldn't do anything to the setting either. I think that's how fucking borked the characters are with their returns at this point. At this point, the Emperor could come back and he wouldn't do anything. He just status quo is here. Yeah, Emperor's back though. Cool. Get hyped.
Yeah, I don't think you could do a lot with it.
Yeah, well, it's like you keep bringing back Primaris.
Like, for us to make a video, just like, yeah, no, they're gonna waste that opportunity.
100%. It's so funny. It's amusing to me.
I'm just looking through. Oh, jeez, there's so many memes I've put up.
I've enjoyed those
memes.
That's
on me.
Yeah, the memes are good.
Oh, so that one where Furious Abyss is being looked back on fondly.
Dude, that's on the skip list for sure. Like, you know, when you have like these I don't know if you watch any anime at all, but like that, I find like that's a thing. Like these long running series from like the old times that have just hundreds of episodes. You'll just have whole sections you'll skip. That's Furious Abyss. You skip that one.
Yeah, nothing of value was lost because it never comes up again.
Yeah, filler, if you will, for the Horus Heresy.
I had a really good topic.
I feel that's why I extended the offer, because I recall you saying there was something, but I couldn't remember it either. But maybe we'll leave it there and just wrap this up. So, audience, if you made it to the end, you guys are the real hobby heroes. Be sure to check out Maka and the Outer Circles channels, linked in the description, of course. Show them some love, and we'll catch you on the next Grimdark Therapy.
See you later.